damn, that Discord call sounds so cool. Like,
I'm live.
I haven't heard it before, but that was sick. Why don't they keep it like that?
I don't know, because I guess they just don't like you.
Yeah, no, really. All the Halloween sounds are so cool. All the Halloween sounds.
Are you?
I'm sorry. It genuinely made me so happy to hear that.
There's genuine happiness in you.
There was genuine joy and happiness that filled my soul hearing that music.
Beetle, I'm really scared. What if this is not the right chapter?
What if this is not the right chapter?
Then they're gonna have to deal with it.
Okay. Microsoft, stop, please.
What are they gonna do? Go back and scour through your lives to find the exact chapter that you left off on?
Maybe.
No, they're not.
They might.
It's just how these bitches just want content. They want to hear our lovely, beautiful voices. They've been waiting. They've been craving. I also lost my glasses, and I don't know.
Oh my god! Really?
I've lost them for the past 2 days. It's fine.
Beetle.
It's fine. I'm literally fine. I can see. I have sight. I see. I think actually I healed my vision. I hit my head a couple times, this past week. And I'm healed. Like that girl from that one movie where she fell into a tree.
Why do I think I know what you're talking about?
Her head.
Oh,
you do.
Is that the Jesus one?
Know. Yes.
Where she's like, God save me and cured me of like my chronic illness?
Yeah.
Wait. I haven't... we are live and I haven't checked on the stream at all.
Hey guys! Hi.
How's the audio? Should I turn down the music?
I'm getting my headset to check right now.
Thank you. I don't really trust you though.
Okay, so why don't you check your own audio? If you say that every single time you say that, and you go, I don't trust you though. I'm just living.
Oh, that's why no one's joining, because the thumbnail's not right. Hold on. Okay, wait. Let me change. Hi, everyone. Rosa, we left off on 32. So Doodler lied to us last night.
Oh.
Isn't that terrible?
Hold on. I'm like vibing to this music right now.
That I put on?
Yeah. I kind of got distracted from hearing if the audio was good. Anyway, it sounds fine. It sounds fine.
Are you too quiet? Am I too quiet? Is the music too loud? That's kind of what I'm asking.
No. That's why I said it sounds fine. It sounds perfect. Is that what you want to hear?
Yes.
I forgot that, people like to hear perfect other than fine. I mean, I hear fine and I'm like, yeah, that's it.
Why is my live stream not popping up on here? What the hell? I need to change the thumbnail.
Yeah, just end it. Just end the live. Bye, guys. Bye, guys.
I don't think I should do that.
Nice knowing ya.
Just took a nap so I would stay up later for this. I also took a nap. I purposely took it earlier in the day.
Can you double check which one we're at? I know they said 32, but can you go look at the last stream just to be sure?
Yeah, let me go back years ago for this.
It was okay. Shut up!
Let me see here.
See here. Hear ye. Wow. Okay, sorry. So sorry. Oh, there it is. There it is. give us the that.
Okay, here it is. This should be the right one. Hello, everyone! Audio is at an
Yeah, we're on
acceptable-
32. What?
Okay. I was reading chat.
Oh. So Chat's just saying what I said. Yeah, we are on 32 though. We are, as in we need to.
Okay, wait, I need to change the title. Chaps 32 and onward. Oh my god, it's been so long since we've done this.
I'm so excited.
Get your reading voices together.
Oh gosh. Shut the fuck up.
Eat your apple, Rosa. Where's your green apple?
I don't
Where's your
have
green apple?
I don't have one.
Damn, you're not prepared.
Okay.
You're not prepared. Now you can't say anything about my glasses.
I think I can.
Listen, I had them like 2 days ago and they vanished from thin air. I don't know where they went. I've been keeping, no, that's a fucking lie. I have not been keeping good track of my glasses. But that was like the actual time I lost. Lost.
Is that gonna fit?
Ooh, I'm going to do Sudoku until we start reading. Excellent. I think Sudoku is like one of the top 10 games you can play on Microsoft. In fact, you know, it's nap day. It is nap day, except for me, every day is nap day. I just took my nap early, so I wouldn't miss this again.
Because someone missed it last time.
Somebody missed it last time. I don't know what happened, but like someone didn't show up. Because clearly I did at 9 o'clock at night.
Mhm.
I didn't know I would nap for like 6 hours. Usually my naps like last for like 2 or 3 hours. Imagine my surprise when I wake up at 9 o'clock in the night and I'm like, oh shit. Rose is gonna kill me.
Oh, here it is. Why are you so low?
Huh?
Nothing.
Huh?
Okay, there we go. I got your PNG.
My very outdated PNG at this point.
It's okay. It's there.
Okay. I still look cutie. It doesn't matter. It's so sad.
Okay! Beetle, shh. Welcome, everybody, to the long-awaited FTFO stream for the Forgotten Ones. It has been almost a year. You know, a lot happened. You know, a lot was going down. Didn't have a lot of time to do this, but we're here, and we're gonna read it today. So, FTFO is officially making a comeback. We're probably not doing it on Sundays because I'm busy usually on Sundays. So we're gonna do them Saturdays. But today's just an exception because someone slept in last night. Someone slept in last night, and so we weren't able to do it yesterday.
Rosa, why did you sleep in last night?
Anyways, what is For the Forgotten Ones for any of my new followers, my new live stream enjoyers, all that jazz? FTFO is a fan fiction made by the creator I'm_sorry_buddy. It is my favorite fan fiction, like, ever. It's great. It's a wonderful fan fiction, and it's a Undertale fan fiction to be specific. Me and Beetle started reading it like a while back, and we would read it every single Saturday and act out the parts, all that type of stuff, and we would switch off reading it. It's been a while since I've reread FTFO, so my trigger warnings for the fic are gonna be very off. I don't remember specifically what's gonna happen in these specific chapters, But I will say the general trigger warnings that we always give before each stream. Beetle, if I forget one, just add it on to it, okay?
You're asking the wrong person, but okay.
I feel like it's pretty easy to remember some of the shit that Ink has to go through.
Oh yeah, that's so true. Maybe.
So there are general trigger warnings for abuse, emotional abuse, and physical abuse. Blood and gore. I'm pretty sure that it gets more violent from here on out. There's psychological manipulation, victim blaming, malpractice. I don't know how else you would trigger that. What else is there?
Someone said blood and gore. I think that's two of them.
I said
One of
that
them.
though. Blood and
Oh.
gore, malpractice,
Blood and gore.
which is gonna get more prevalent in these chapters.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It would be medical malpractice. Yeah, medical malpractice is a big one, especially for these upcoming chapters that we're about to go through. Again, there's a lot of abuse. All that type of stuff. Genuinely, if you find these type of stuff triggering, I would not suggest you watch these streams as it gets really deep into it. But if you're okay with consuming that type of content and hearing us read it, good on you. You'll be alright.
You got this, guys.
Again, I'm going in blind into this. I haven't rechecked what this chapter is. I'm also going to be very rusty with reading out loud. Me and Beetle alike, I feel like.
Nah, I'm cracked.
Yeah, sure. And it's gonna be one of those things where you have to we're basically like starting from the beginning. All the progress we made on our reading, it's gone now. Like we're back to the start.
Oh.
Like we're back to the start. We're not good anymore. We're back to it.
Excuse me, I read to myself all the time. Granted,
Well,
it's manga, but like it's still something.
I also will have to remind myself of the voices we used.
Oh my god, the fucking voices!
I
The
know,
voices!
I know, so I'm worried now.
That was like the
about...
best part though, it was so fun.
I think with Ink, it's just like I sound feeble, so he's easy.
You just sound like yourself, but like slightly little like pathetic.
Like I'm getting
just a
beaten.
smidge.
Also, a big thing, sometimes we, I do this to Beetle. I will cut in when Beetle's reading and say random comments, so it's not like a full-blown reading stream where we're just reading with no breaks whatsoever. We will be cracking jokes. We will be making humor of some of the stuff in here. So again, if that's annoying, maybe watch the VOD so you can skip that type of stuff. We had a whole entire segment that got clipped, actually, where I said that Ink is infertile at one point.
What? Oh wait, yeah.
And Beetle laughed their ass off at me. I said, he's infertile! And then went off.
He's infertile!
So, we do talk. Some general reminders to the chat. Try to stay on topic with the fanfiction. We've had some problems in the past where we get people venting randomly while we're reading, and since we're reading, we can't really... They think that we can't read the chat, but we are, because when one of us isn't reading, we're locked in onto the chat, and we're looking what you guys are saying. So, we can see it. Please don't do that. Just try to stay on topic with the fic. If you have general conversations between each other, that is completely fine. Just don't get super dark into stuff. You know, keep it lighthearted. This is a fun stream. And if you don't, you will unfortunately be timed out by either me and Beetle. It's not personal. It is just to keep a good atmosphere. So yeah, I made my therapist quit. Nice. Okay. As a voice actor, this is so entertaining. Oh god. I haven't voice acted in so long.
Oh.
This is gonna be really bad.
Cross Plinko.
Okay.
Cross Plinko game.
I'm nervous.
We're bringing
Okay.
it back. Okay, sorry.
I'm nervous. Okay. It's been so long. Please forgive me, chat, if I can't read well. I'm also really sore. I went to main event yesterday and I did laser tag with my sister in bowling. So my body hurts because she was killing me. Oh, hi, Inky! It hurt a lot. It hurt a lot. So, be cautious. We try to do 4 chapters a stream. It just depends on how long our voices last. And since it's been a while, and my voice is already, like, waning, we'll see. We'll see how that...
This is a 1 chapter deal. This.
Yeah,
I'm not even gonna read it. Just Rosa.
Beetle just... I'm like, Beetle, it's
We're
your
not even
turn.
gonna make it.
Beetle, it's your turn. You're like, nah.
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 Peace out, gang. You did great.
Okay. Let's do this. For the Forgotten Ones, I'm _buddy, chapter 32. It isn't paranoia if they're out to get you. Cross had stopped feeling conflicted about attacking alternate universes long ago. He had previously thought he was harming others in order to save his own home, so he had tried to accept what he'd done. This may be one of the first times it was actually true, in a way. Horrortown was not his home, but it was Horror's. Cross could not let it fall. Even as his own mind and will crumbled, he still held on to himself. He had no choice but to. Horrortown needed him. Horror needed him. Dust and Killer needed him. Ink. As he knocked a royal guard unconscious, Cross wondered if this was what it was like in the old days before Nightmare began letting his gang kill on missions. It felt wrong to leave enemies in their wake, still breathing. Instinct told Cross to go back, so he did not get attacked from behind. He had already killed so many, so why not a few more? It did not matter. None of it mattered. It matters to Ink. The guards of Dancetail stood no chance against Dust and Cross as they made their way deep into the core. Horror and Killer were the distraction, making a scene in Hotland, but only a scene as the monsters miraculously evaded the infamous game's magic attacks. It was up to Cross and Dust to slip into the core and get the parts they needed, and if the stars showed up, good. Distractions within distractions, goals within goals. Cross's soul felt heavy, as though it was weighed down by a hand. That should scare him, but he wasn't afraid. He was remarkably calm, all things considered. There was a mission to be done. He would complete the mission. It was a good thing he was calm, since Nightmare was currently corrupted. I forgot my chapstick! Fuck!
No, my chapstick! Oh no!
I need it.
I'm gonna go put on my strawberry flavored lip oil.
Well, I don't
Not
have...
because I need it, but because I want to.
It helps my lips.
Well, I would assume so. Got some Sahara desert ass lips while you're reading, sounding like.
Leave me alone! What was... Shut the fuck up! What was the difference between calm and apathy? At one point did one become the other? Was Cross still fighting as he remained calm, or had he already given up, like so many other Sanses did? He didn't know. He didn't care. It didn't matter. Because Cross had not used Overwrite. Cross was not capable of using Overwrite. Cross's soul was white and whole, right? Ron. And yet he appeared to use Overwrite. The ones that could use that cursed power were no allies of his. A scientist groveled on his hands and knees, begging for his life, as Cross and Dust approached the main lab in the core. Cross coldly kicked him in the head and knocked him out. He strode by the unconscious scientist and halted at the thick metal security door, staring at the number pad. If we cut through, those alarms will start blaring, Dust warned. Cross nodded and pressed his hand beside the keypad. Purple light rippled over the numbers and the door unlocked. No alarm sounded. Cross stepped back. Dust's wide eyelids slowly lifted from the number pad to Cross's face. What was that? Cross brushed past him into the core. Dust hurried after him. Okay, I know this is not the time, but you can't just pull something like that and not explain. Era shook something loose, Cross said curtly. Crypto's attack broke it further. And now we're doing the cryptic non-answers. Great! Dust whispered. He flung a blunt bone attack at another guard, knocking him down. His smile was forced. If you're gonna shove me into the core to keep me quiet, just say it now. Cross saw Ink's weakly stirring body at Nightmare's feet, and an unbreakable resolve pierced through his veil of nihilistic apathy. A lot didn't matter, but the gain still did. I will not hurt you. I refuse to. Dust did not look particularly assured. They entered the main core of Dancetail. It was a safety inspector's nightmare. Thin platforms and bridges surrounded the core, winding around it like a spiderweb of metal. The only other barrier between the workers and an existence-shattering drop into the orange glow below were thin metal railings along the platform's sides. No wonder gasters so often fell into their creations. Dust peered at Cross and swallowed roughly. Your left eye is purple. I know. Cross kept his gaze forward, towards the core itself. He'd always done that, hadn't he? He looked forward, always forward, towards the goal, never back at the bodies, dust, and misery he left in his wake. Distractions within distractions, goals within goals. So what was X-Gaster doing? What was he trying to accomplish with this? Cross had an idea. It would be beneficial to the both of them if the Omega Timeline lost ink. X-Gaster is alive. He never died. He's been out there all this time. He can control me. A fireball hit Cross in the back. It went out on contact, but surprised him enough that he stumbled forward into the pitifully thin railing of the platform. Dust's bone attack knocked the guard out, and he crumbled, barely avoiding a fall into the core himself. Why are they not being careful, like, at all, guys? Come on, what the fuck?
That's right.
Like, what are they doing? Dude!
No.
Lock in!
Fireball.
Whack it! Lock in, dude! Damn guards! Dust grumbled. You okay, Cross? Cross? The glow of the core was alluring and hypnotic. Oh, they're suicidal. Casting its surroundings in deceptively warm orange hues. They swirled and shimmered as its pattern synchronized with the hum of the core itself, almost like it was whispering in his head. Cross did not realize how far he had leaned over the railing before he began to fall over it. Dust caught his soul with a muffled scream, yanking Cross back onto the platform. He grabbed Cross's hand none too gently, pulling him closer as his indigo eyelights burned with rage. The only reason Dust didn't yell was because they needed to be quiet. What the fuck was that? His gaze dropped, and he went quiet. Cross's soul was still summoned, floating in front of his sternum. There was a single crack down the middle, splitting it open like a broken heart and revealing a slice of the inside. Just visible within the pulsing white glow was a sliver of purple. It felt good to see the truth at last and understand that his paranoia was no such thing. Cross was not hallucinating. Dust could see it too. What Cross saw in Market Tale was real. What he saw in Dreamtale was real. Cross suspected he knew why X-Kara had vanished and his soul had been seemingly made whole. He supposed the purple sliver of X-Gaster's soul had been waiting for a long time to wake. It was almost ironic that Era's interference had fully activated it. Then again, it was likely that the Destroyer had done it on purpose. Dust stared at Cross's soul in horror. Chaps, please tell me I'm seeing things. Cross had the feeling Phantom didn't, because Dust looked like he wanted to be sick. There was the sound of running footsteps. They echoed loudly on the metal platforms that surrounded the center of the core, drawing closer. It seemed Killer and Horror's distraction had not worked. Either that, or it seemed that Dream was drawn to Cross and Dust's emotions instead. The two Star Sanses had arrived to Dancetail. Red was with them. Excellent. Cross summoned 7 purple knives. They floated around his hand in a circle, gleaming with violent crackles of magic. Get the parts we need for Horrortail. I'll handle this. Dust's expression twisted with distress. Cross, I am still in control, Cross said honestly. Because it benefits him. Go. With one final, pained look, Dust went. Again, Cross was glad. He did not want to know what X-Gaster would do to Dust if he refused. Red and Blue had run ahead, getting closer than Dream. That was to be expected, because Dream tended to use his bow. Luckily for the Guardian of Positivity, he was not Cross's target this time. Cross waited until he could see the glow of Red and Blue's eyelights before he threw the knives. Even after X-Kara was long gone, his influence stays with me, Cross mused bitterly. I guess leaving an unwanted impression runs in the family. Blue blocked the two and went at him, while Red dodged one, only to get a startled yell as the last four pierced through his coat and pinned him to the wall. Cross launched himself forward with a burst of magic and slammed into Blue, shoving him with enough force that he bent the railing that he fell into. The kick was accompanied by another barrage of knives, and their trajectory shifted 90 degrees in midair, going for Dream instead. Dream threw himself aside and barely avoided the weapons. One was close enough that it nicked his boot, causing him to wince. He already looked unsteady, his eyelids pale, and his skull covered by a sheen of sweat. Cross blocked Red's bone attack with a gaster blaster and fired it at Blue, who flung himself to another platform in order to get out of the way. Oh my gosh, Dream is already about to fucking die. Dream's about to fall. Cross, please stop!
2 seconds.
2 seconds.
Stop it.
This isn't you! Cross, please stop! This isn't you! Blue shouted
Hold out
frantically.
hands.
If you hit the core, it'll blow up everything! I don't care, Cross said flatly. He threw a barrage of knives and bones at Dream, but Blue intervened, blocking the attacks because that's his husband. Dream's hands remained empty. He hadn't summoned his bow, but his fingers flexed like when he did. Maybe he was too weak to bring out his weapon. Cross had come too far to feel anything about his old friend's weakness. Red yanked the final knife out of his jacket, scowling at the damage, and teleported to a place beside Dream and Blue. Is anyone going to mention that Cross looks more murderous today? The purple eyelight is new, I admit, Blue said, sounding a
They
a
sound
bit
so
less cheery.
casual.
Yeah, that's new, guys. I like the new look.
Huh, that's so weird.
Blue said, sounding a bit less cheery and a bit more breathless than usual. He stood defensively in front of Dream. Where's Nightmare Cross? What is he planning? The twisting sensation in Cross's chest had nothing to do with the purple slice in his soul. He stared at the star sands in red, unsure of what he looked like. Whatever his expression was, it made Dream flinch. Nightmare is gone, Cross informed them tonelessly. The corruption has consumed him. Dream's eyelids lost their remaining color. Did he hurt you? As always, he suppressed whatever negativity he felt. It made Cross sick. Oh, not physically. He only made us hallucinate while he beat Ark within an inch of his life, Cross said icily. And by beat, I mean he broke almost every bone in Ark's body. Why are you telling them this? Why are you trauma dumping right now?
I break all my bones.
I broke all my bones in my body. Why are you doing this? Why are you saying this to— Okay. His words and emotions must be as damaging as magic attacks to Dream. Cross saw him physically recoil, shuddering in pain as Blue balked and Red grimaced. Cross couldn't feel much remorse about it. He had no right to feel such things. He'd almost rather feel nothing at all instead of acknowledging that his sense of calm was just another shield. He wondered if Dream knew. Dream gathered himself and struggled to focus on Cross. His eyelights were faded and glazed, yet he remained standing. He gestured, but no weapon appeared in his hands. Instead, it was a request to halt, directed at his allies. Cross recognized it because he and Dream used it to use the same signal. To an outsider, it would appear that nothing had changed, but Cross could see when Blue and Red stood down, observing cautiously. Dream met Cross's gaze. Does Ark need healing? I can do my best to assist him. Was Dream seriously trying this now? After everything that happened, was he really pretending to show interest in helping now? Did Dream really think Cross was that naive? Cross couldn't stop a hysterical laugh from bursting out of him. It was so sharp and painful that it sounded more like a strangled wheeze. Cross's voice was anything but amused. This is a joke, right? Dream flinched slightly at whatever emotions Cross must be projecting, but remained standing. It is not. Let us help you, Cross, all of us. Cross stared at the offered hand in contempt. Oh, sure. Like you helped, Ark. Is that how you captured him? You offered help and threw him in a cell? Dream's mouth moved slightly. His utterly lost expression turned into one of quiet terror. Blue was similarly confused. Cross noticed that Red was not. Blue slowly lowered his sword like bone attacks. A rookie mistake. What are you talking about? If the Star Santas didn't know, that was somehow even worse than any attempt to pretend they were ignorant. It meant the Omega timeline was keeping Ink's imprisonment and status from them, likely because they might actually object to it. What did that say about Ink's current condition? Nothing good. Cross bared his teeth in a snarl. The Omega timeline has Ark, but Red already knew that, didn't he? Blue's blue eyelights flicked to Red. who stared back uncomfortably. Dream wouldn't stop staring at Cross like he was some injured, miserable thing, like he was his biggest failure. Cross couldn't stand the sight of him. He threw out his next accusation before Dream could gather himself. You knew about me, didn't you? This whole time you knew that I could not save Extel. You knew that I had a piece of Exgaster's soul inside my own. You... what? Dream looked horrified. No, Cross, no, I swear to you, I never would have kept that from you, never. You expect me to trust that after everything? Cross screamed at him. You expect me to believe that you and Corfris didn't keep this from me, too? Is that why Corfris thought I had overwrite? Well, guess what? I still don't. I'm gonna turn down my mic, actually, now that I'm yelling. Just be careful. Let me just turn down a little bit so I don't peek. Dream, Blue, and Red all stared at Cross with abject horror on their face. Not just horror, but fear. Cross had seen that kind of look directed at Nightmare, Horror, and Killer, but never himself. It was like they had never seen the true him before. Cross didn't blame them. He had never seen the truth for himself either. He saw movement in the shadows of the doorway behind his opponents. He heard a light thud as someone stopped behind him, accompanied by a brief pulse of familiar magic. He let out a low, bitter laugh. It doesn't matter anymore. We're done playing your games. Cross grabbed Red's soul and threw him upward. His head slammed into the bottom of one of the higher platforms, knocking him out cold. At the same time, Killer grabbed Dream and Blue's soul and flung them to the side. Dream landed on a platform, gasping lowly in pain, but Blue struck a railing, falling toward the outside. He cried out in fear, but Dust caught him by his soul, shoving him up onto another platform beside Dream. Cross pulled and dropped Red's unconscious body next to Killer, who lifted him up easily. Blue shuddered and pushed himself onto his feet, ready to launch himself at the gang, but Killer stared darkly at him and calmly put a knife to Red's neck. Blue immediately froze, not daring to move. Dust handed the large bag of core parts. That could just be carried in a bag? Like, I was expecting it to be a lot bigger. That's just in a bag?
Maybe it's like a magic bag.
That's true.
Like Mary Poppins. No, Nanny McPhee? No, Mary Poppins.
It's true. Dust handed the large bag of core parts to Horror, and he easily hefted it onto his shoulder. Cross slashed open a portal behind them, and the gang began backing up towards it, with Killer's knife still firmly pressed to Red's neck. Dream's fingers curled, but he either did not want to summon his weapon or was incapable. Cross, please, don't do this. You don't have to. His eyelights flickered to red and away. We don't have to fight. Let us help you. We can save Ark together. It reminded Cross a little of Ink, but only a little, because Ink actually understood and accepted Cross, flaws and all. As a result, Dream's attempt at reaching out did not appease him. They just angered him more. You always think the worst of us, don't you? Cross sneered, and threw one final bitter, tired, insulting barb. You want Red back? Ink has a way to contact us, so you better hope he's conscious. Oh, and you might want to talk to Dr. Felgaster about the protector he is holding prisoner. Blue's eyelights lost their color. Dreams completely vanished, leaving his eye sockets an empty black. Before either Star Sands could react, the gang vanished through the portal with the unconscious Red in tow. Dun dun dun.
Done. That's some petty shit too. He's like, you want this bitch back? Well, guess what?
Well, guess what? Guess who you have in the Mega Timeline? You little bitch. Let me pull a fast one, Yanya. Okay, here we go. Ink was getting really tired of waking up in the hospital. The pale blue ceiling was a kinder sight than it could have been, but it did not change the fact that he had been drugged again. He should have realized that he was not lucky enough to merely have a sedative in his IV at the other hospital. The nullifier was not the only thing hidden beneath his cast. Considering that the Omega Timeline had some of the best minds in the multiverse, anything could trigger the device to knock Ink out. His soul beat, a phrase, even a remote trigger, or a pulse of someone else's magic, could be used depending on what the scientist's intentions were. All that mattered was that it kept Ink contained and knocked him unconscious before he could act or try to escape. What other traps had they hidden on? Or, he considered with no small degree of nausea, in. Ink to keep him from even trying to free himself or find help. He wouldn't find out until they were activated. Ink wanted to prove that he was not a threat, but he wanted to claw at his cast until it was torn to shreds. His frustration mounted, because he shouldn't have to prove his intentions. He tried to focus and be grateful that he still wasn't in a lab. Instead, he wanted to scream himself hoarse and throw something. It might trigger the sedative again if he did. Ink took a calming breath and looked right to see Gino in his usual chair. His face was drawn and it looked like he hadn't slept in years. Beside him sat Color. The casual facade that many Sanses utilized to distract the people around them had vanished, leaving the sharp, cold visage of a judge. Color was dead serious. Ink heard shouting from outside as pounding footsteps ran closer. He held his breath, but they passed by the door instead of breaking through. The fingers of Ink's good hand dug into the sheet. What happened? The colored flames and Color's skull lashed violently in the air. There was an explosion and fire in the skyscraper lab. Apparently one of the power cores malfunctioned. A cold sense of dread gripped Ink's soul, but he shoved his emotions aside as he pushed himself up into a sitting position with his good hand. Do the doctors need help? How many are injured? Color paused. That is not your concern. He had not even finished his sentence, but the words immediately reminded Ink of Nightmare's restraint on his use of green magic. Needless to say, it was not appreciated. I am a healer, Ink interrupted sharply. I am capable of green magic. Let me help. Color tried to hide it, but it was clear that he did not expect Ink to react like this. You're injured. I can heal myself enough to get around, Ink said stubbornly. Color's eye light flashed between deep blue and warm green. I'll ask. It was only when Color stepped out that Ink dared to look back at Gino. He gestured frantically, and Gino came closer, grasping Ink's hand and allowing his snakes to subtly slither up his sleeve into his red scarf. They did it with such ease that Ink knew they'd transferred more than once while he was unconscious. When Ink spoke, his voice was low and tremulous. Where's Aster? Gino couldn't meet his gaze. The explosion was in his lab. I think he was inside. Ink squeezed his eye socket shut. No tears escaped as he struggled to keep his composure. Was it a core part or a core part that caused the explosion? Gino gripped his scarf much like Dust would when he was upset. I wasn't told. If it was the latter, Aster could be in the void. If not, then Aster was... No. Aster wasn't dead. Ink refused to believe that he was. He couldn't believe that Dr. Fell would hurt his own people, but the timing was too perfect for the accidental explosion to be a mere coincidence. They attacked Aster. Aster was not dead. Ink hadn't wanted to consider that they would hurt Aster, but they did. Now so many more people were hurt in the crossfire along with Aster because of Ink. Ink stopped thinking about that and clung to hope, even as his faith that the Omega timeline would show any mercy dwindled further. Please be careful. They won't let you in the emergency ward with me. Don't let them take you anywhere. And don't believe them if they say I've gone to another hospital. He took in a ragged breath, but kept his emotions under control. I can't lose you too. Gino's eye socket went wide before his eye light flashed red. He nodded curtly. What?
I'm sorry.
Quash
It
fire.
just said fire.
Okay. You're just here to torment me.
Quash fire.
Quash fire. Quash fire. You won't. It's a promise. Color returned faster than they expected, cutting off their conversation. I'll remove the magic nullifier, not the other one. Try anything and it goes back on. Despite how easily the offer could be taken back by his captors, Ink couldn't keep the thoughts to himself. You really think the worst of me, don't you? Ooh, that's a good callback. That's a good callback to later. That's a really good callback. We account for the worst, Color said tersely. Ink's breathing remained slow-paced. His eye sockets were empty and dark. His personal emotions and thoughts were carefully set aside in favor of action, with the exception of one final sharp, ruthless truth. Oh my god, my lisp is hitting so bad.
I'm laughing, but I know it's gonna be worse for me.
Woofwis? Oh wow, wow, this is really bad. Oh my god.
What? Whoa.
Your Is this Ink talking? Yes. Okay. Your boss might have just blown up part of his own lab to remove the person who helped me, killing several others in the process. So please don't try that morally superior bullshit with me right now. Color's harsh expression faltered. It was enough to tell Ink that his accusation might hold some weight to it. Color realized that too. His gaze dropped away first. Two nurses hurried in and wasted no time in removing Ink's cast. They were careful but worked quickly, barely asking him if he was dizzy or in pain. Their haste not only confirmed that the magic nullifier was indeed under the cast, but that they were desperate for any and all healers at the moment. The outraged looks one of the nurses gave the cast suggested they had just been told what was hidden inside of it. Ink couldn't help but wonder what would have happened if he was brought in as S.H.I.E.L.D. He'd already been out there, helping the injured. Then again, the explosion most likely would not have happened in the first place if he showed up as Aster's purple-cloaked Sans friend. Aster is not dead. The cast was removed, revealing Ink's cut and broken right leg. Wrapped around the bones, just above his foot, were two cuff-like anklets. One silver, one gold. The silver anklet had the appearance of a thin metal band with a blinking light, while the gold one was much thicker in both dimensions, resembling the manacles that hung from the wall of the castle dungeon. It also had a light that blinked to show... Oh my god! It also had a light that blinked to show the device was working. That sentence should not have been that hard. The silver cuff was taken off, leaving the gold one in place. The same nurse gave that one a look of utter loathing, but did not touch it. Ink wondered if the nurses had been warned not to tamper with the code's nullifier, or else. Ink was more concerned with his upper leg, which had also been exposed after the caster's removal. There was a small incision scar on his femur. There's something that injects me with a sedative inside my femur, isn't there? Ink was too focused to feel nauseous or afraid. He said nothing about the scar as he felt his magic return to him. The codes remained out of his reach. Under Color's watchful eye, Ink healed himself enough that he could walk and use both arms. He tried not to worry about whether they'd be broken again if he stepped out of line. They put something in my leg to knock me out. They blew up their own building and hurt their own people just to get Aster. Aster is missing. Ink held on to a state of calm only because there was an emergency to deal with. Once it was over, he was not sure what he would do. His magic roiled in his bones, black and green. He did not let any of it leak out. His reaction once the emergency was over might be bad. His reaction if they tried to stop him from healing now would be worse. One of the nurses picked up the black walking cast she had brought and turned back to him. Her gaze fell upon Ink's healed leg, and she went still. Her eyes flicked from Ink's leg to his glowing eyelights, and she silently put the walking cast on his leg. The walking cast went up to his knee, allowing him to bend that leg a little while his foot and ankle was mostly kept immobile. A matching black brace went on Ink's left wrist. With Gino's help, Ink got up into a standing position. He took a few hesitant steps and felt only a slight strain in his chest and leg. His bones still ached a bit, but he was mobile. Dr. Toriel met them out in the hall. If she was surprised that Ink was on his feet, she did not show it. There was no time for such things. All the hospitals were overwhelmed. The whispers of some of the doctors that Ink's group passed told him that a fire had spread through part of the skyscraper, causing several other accidents as the flames tore through different research labs. Is this 9/11? For the Omega timeline?
They hit the second lab!
They hit the second lab! Ink wondered if the
Aster, wake up!
Aster, wake up! They hit the second lab!
TV on!
Oh, we're going to hell.
Oh, absolutely.
Ink wondered if the wide spread of destruction was done intentionally to make it seem like Aster wasn't the specific target, or if those responsible had used the burning to cover up something else as well. Dr. Toriel briskly led Ink, Gino, and Color through the hospital to the emergency ward they'd set up, giving Ink updates as she went. The patients were triaged by the medics on site before they were taken here. All of our healers are working with the critically injured. Have you ever lost someone you were trying to heal? The question may sound callous to an outsider, but Ink understood why she asked. Green magic let healers hold someone's life in their hands, sometimes literally as their magic synced, and the loss of that connection could be devastating to someone who wasn't trained to deal with it. If Ink had a breakdown, He'd become as useless as he was with the nullifier on. Ink thought back to the attack on Horror Tale and recalled the sensation of Snowdrake's soul shattering. His own soul ached. Yes. Torio remained focused and professional. Your friends must stay outside. Ink could already sense the injured. Juno caught sight of his expression, and the guarded look faded from his face. Ink had not even considered that the whole situation could be another trick to get him by himself. It wasn't a trick. Ink wished it was, because if the attack wasn't real, no one else would have been hurt. If it wasn't real, Aster would still be here. Aster is not dead. Juno grabbed Color's shoulder. No problem! We can chat. Color did not look happy, but he did not try to argue as Dr. Toriel led Ink into the emergency ward. The ones that need immediate attention are marked with healer green, Toriel quietly told Ink as soon as the doors closed. Sky blue are walking, wounded. Sunlight yellow are stable but could use further treatment. Focus on green. With that, Ink found himself in the middle of the organized chaos of the hospital. There were so many wounded that an emergency medical tent had been set up outside of the main building. The injured were laid out in rows on cots or mats, with marks on their foreheads or cheeks to indicate their level of injury. The majority were walking wounded, but far too many were green, leaving the doctors, medics, and healers scrambling. Just how many of the lab had been affected by the fire? Focus. Patients require assistance. Ink did not freeze up or falter at the sight and the smells. There were so many monsters and humans that needed help. So much blood, spilt magic, and dust. But he stayed calm. This was easier than seeing horror in such a state and thinking about Aster, a necessary detachment in order for him to do what needed to be done. Any grief and sorrow remained distant, to be processed at a later time. Ink went to the first green mark he saw, an Asgore with bandages wrapped around its chest. A scan showed his HP was steadily decreasing. Something metal and sharp had run through him, just missing his soul. He was barely conscious. His eyes only opened a sliver when Ink touched his arm, revealing unfocused irises. I have you, Ink murmured. His green magic materialized at his call. It easily synced with the scientist's, keeping his soul stable as Ink applied green magic. There was a strange sense of relief at that. Not everything Ink did was attached to codes. He could still help without them. It took less than a minute to heal the injury. Ink did one final scan, waved over a nurse, and moved to the next monster in line. Oh, this one's... Ooh. This was an Undying. Her role may have been swapped to scientist, but her passion and determination was the same. Her torso had nearly been completely severed, and she was starting to dust at the edges. It was likely her own determination that was keeping her alive. Ink synced their magic and held her together with just as much ferocity. Her body smoothly reformed. She opened her eye as Ink moved on. He's showing his, main character moment here. He's gonna heal every single person in this ward because he is the main character.
Literally.
A papyrus lay on a cot, his red scarf still around his neck. His skull had a large crack from the frontal bone all the way down to the occipital bone. Bits of dust lay on the cot beneath his head. Ink did not falter. He healed the shattered bone and kept going. 10 monsters later, Ink finally realized that others had noticed his progress. Several nearby nurses and less critical patients stared at him in shock until a doctor barked at the nurses to stop gawking. Ink ignored them and moved on to the next person. There were so many injuries, so much needing to be healed. If he had access to codes, maybe he could try to heal more than one at once. Or maybe he could do it with his green magic alone, but now was not the time for experimentation. If he used too much energy too quickly, more would be left to fend for themselves. Ink would take what he could get. Ink healed the next monster, and the next, and he healed a human scientist. It was a good thing he had desensitized himself to seeing injuries, or he might have faltered at the sight of their wounds. Ooh, I didn't even think about that. Ooh. There was no time to falter. I will not falter! He needed to keep healing who he could. Maybe Aster was among the injured. Maybe they had missed him in the chaos. Or maybe Aster was not here to be helped. Ink felt cold. He sensed the source. A sedative would interfere with his work, so he forced green magic into it, dissipating the unnecessary dosage. He grabbed a scalpel and cut into his femur, removing the device from his leg with his fingers. It stung a bit, and was messy, but he did not care. He dropped the device in the hazardous material receptacle, healed the injury, and moved on! What a king! There was loud voices in the background.
Ooh.
Ink checked that there wasn't danger, and finding none, continued his work. A hand grabbed his arm and he looked up at an adult Kara in a lab coat. They did not have a green mark. Theirs was the sky blue, meant a walking wounded. Please help my brother, Scientist Kara begged. That got Ink's attention. He let Scientist Kara pull him to a cot near the wall of the tent. Scientist Kara's brother was Azrael. Unlike many Azraels, he too had made it to adulthood. Unlike many of the patients, he was not wearing any lab gear. He must have been visiting his sibling's place of work during the attack. The edges of his body were dusting. His mark was black. They didn't mention black. Ink's magic...
Oh! I thought you didn't remember Black. Yeah, they didn't mention Black.
They didn't mention black. He's dead,
Yeah.
bro. Ink's magic held Azrael's soul together, and he synced their magic, harmonizing with the faint beat of his patient's soul. A hand latched onto his shoulder, and a soft voice quietly whispered for Ink not to waste his energy. Shut the fuck up! The owner of that voice tried to guide him away, but Ink ignored them, just like he ignored the angry denials of Scientist Kara. Nothing mattered but the patient. Azrael's soul did not shatter. His body solidified and he stirred, opening confused and tired eyes. Someone gasped. Stars above, he healed him! Nurse Frisk sounded shocked. Scientist Kara burst into tears and hugged their brother. Ink wanted to cry too. He didn't because more patients needed his help. He moved on. Ink didn't understand why the black marks had gone unmentioned. He went to them as well as the green and continued to heal. Many patients were cut. Many were burned. Many had broken bones. Ink healed them. The doctors and nurses had noticed his progress. They worked to remove shrapnel and debris from wounds before Ink got there. He scanned his patients just to be sure. He kept healing. One of the next patients was a Gaster like Aster. It was not Aster. Aster was not here. Aster was not dead. The punctures in the Gaster's skull were healed. Ink moved on. He healed, and healed, and healed. Ink kept healing until someone else grabbed his arm. Since Scientist Kara had directed him to a patient who needed assistance last time, he paused and looked up at the owner of the hand, seeking directions. It was Metit? Who was this?
Medic.
Medic?
It's called Medic.
It's just Medic?
Who is a medic?
Oh! I was like, who the fuck
Rosa.
is... Medic! He seemed distressed. Oh, darling, you need a rest. I should have known. Ink stared at him expressionless and pulled his arm free. There were still people that needed help. Chat's being nice about it, people. Loud voices were nearby,
Okay.
reverberating in his head, and something wrapped around him multiple times. Ink was too exhausted to scream. He struggled against the firm grasp of Nightmare's tentacles as his soul began a rapid sprint in his ribcage. He could keep healing. There were people who needed his help. He could help them. Why didn't Nightmare understand? Why was he stopping him? Why did Nightmare get to decide who died? Were Ink's bones going to be broken again? It wouldn't stop him. He refused to let it stop him. The voice that shouted at him wasn't Nightmare's. Stop, healer, Medic commanded sharply. You're hurting yourself. Ink blinked and looked down at his soul. It looked like it normally did. Cracked and gouged. Fuck. Gouged! Thank you. Medic gasped and said something in an urgent voice, but Ink could not hear it over the ringing in his head. Oh, that wasn't good! That didn't matter, they were more injured. Ink tried to break free and heal them. Medic held on to him. Healer, enough! It wasn't enough, they were still injured. I know, darling, I know. Medic's hold didn't feel restraining anymore. It felt desperate, just like his voice. Medic wanted to cry. Ink wanted to cry. But they couldn't cry because it wouldn't help anyone. It wouldn't bring anyone back. Where did all these monsters come from? Why are they gathered around Ink like they were blocking the way? Why did some look so upset? Had he done something wrong? Were they going to hurt him? He deserved it. These people were hurt, and Asher was gone because of him. Ink fought Medic's arm and the tears that threatened to well up. Something closed around his wrist, and his magic roiled up in his bones. Unable to escape. Ink wasn't sure he had the energy to escape. His limbs felt cold, numb, and heavy all at once, like they were barely connected to his body, and his head pounded almost as terribly as his soul. What are you doing? It was another medic that shouted. His profession was made clear by his uniform. He can heal more! He's been in here for 14 hours! Medic snarled back at him. Dr. Toriel stepped between them, facing the other medic with a quietly enraged expression, and the next thing Ink knew, he was back in the main hospital. Ink blinked lethargically at the arms that held him along and looked up at Color. He did not look aggressive or annoyed anymore. He looked a lot like Cross sometimes did. Huh. That expression could only be guilt. Come on, Color urged softly. Ink stumbled a few steps with him before he remembered that Color wasn't an ally. He recoiled hard enough that he tumbled free of Color's grip and nearly fell against the wall. Ink didn't really know what he was doing as he leaned heavily against the wall. All he knew was that he was exhausted and cold, and that was not a good combination for if Color tried to take him anywhere. If he tried, Ink doubted he would be able to stop him. Instead of grabbing him, Color stepped back. Sorry. Ink could tell Color was apologizing for more than startling him. He distantly remembered that Gino had wanted to have a chat with Color. That talk changed something. He took a risk and shakily grasped Color's offered arm. Color went still and let Ink adjust his hold until he could lean on him more securely. It was almost funny to see a holder of 6 human souls and a guard of the Omega timeline look so hesitant. Ink supposed Color did just have his preconceptions shattered once he accepted that he got a healer instead of a killer. Despite everything, he was happy Color had that realization in the first place. Ink settled and gave Color a shaky smile. Thank you. His voice was even raspier than usual, but Color was able to hear him. The harsh edges of his flame seemed to smooth out and soften. Ink did not hesitate to fully rely on Color's support, trusting the other to not let him fall or yank him down. They made slow progress back to Ink's room, but he wasn't about to ask for a wheelchair. Wheelchair. Others still needed them. They retrieved that device you cut out of your leg, Color said softly. It was made to resemble an implant that regulates HP, so the doctors didn't think much about it. It was used to remotely inject you with a strong sedative. No shit. Keep up, bro!
Wow.
Keep up!
Work found in kitchen. Holy
Yeah,
shit.
whoa! Ink had suspected as much. Yeah. He looked down at his walking cast and wondered if there was anything else hidden in the codes. Nullifier still on his leg, seeing how determined Dr. Fell was to keep him from leaving. He wouldn't be surprised if there were other unknown uses for it that were even more malicious than a sedative. I don't like that. After all, Ink had just seen full proof of how ruthless Dr. Felgaster could be. Color opened the door to Ink's hospital room and he immediately understood why Gino had not gone to get him himself. Gino froze mid-pace and tried to hide the agonized look on his face before Ink saw him, but wasn't quick enough, nor was he quick enough to hide the item he held. So Gino didn't try. He silently held it out to Ink. They found it in the wreckage. It was Aster's crystal necklace. Ink's fingers closed around the smooth blue pendant, and he lifted it from Gino's palm. Seeing the crystal and feeling its texture did not make it feel any more real. The thoughts Ink had been resisting for the past 14 hours slammed against the walls he had built up in order to do his job, and his hand quivered. The one that was still wrapped in the brace ached. The other only had the bracelet that once again blocked his magic. I didn't take the chance to contact the gang. Aster is gone. I didn't even think about trying to leave with Gino. Aster is gone. Did they only let me have my magic for just not enough to heal people, and now I'm stuck again? Aster is gone. I can't do this. I can't do this. They hurt him. They'll hurt Gino. They're gonna hurt me. I can't do this. You have to. You need to keep it together so you can get out. Save everyone and find Aster. Don't cry. Keep calm. They'll know you're scared if you cry. Aster is not dead. Ink's breathing stayed even. He spoke to Color in a tone that dared him to, begged him not to, tell him a lie. What really happened? Someone used a modified core bomb. Okay. Oh, it's just a regular core thing. I didn't know core first made bombs. Color reported. In the most basic terms, is an explosive that utilizes the kind of energy that core produces. The core produces, making it into a weapon. It went off in Aster's office and caused a fire that spread through part of the building. The accident is under investigation. I can't tell you more because I myself don't know everything, and I doubt I'll be told. But I'm genuinely sorry. Aster just wanted to help me. It hurt to breathe. Ink stared out of the window and tried to remember that in the end, whoever had hurt Aster was to blame for his state, and the destruction in the skyscraper. It was that persons, or multiple persons, choice to hurt Aster and their own people to get at him. Aster is gone, but he is not dead. He might be injured, but he is alive, and likely trapped in the codes. Ink clung to that hope, because if he didn't, he would break. He'd break, give up, and let Felgaster do what he wished. Ink couldn't break now. Too many people needed him to keep going. Aster needed him to keep going. Ink would not cry for Aster because Aster was not dead. I don't know about that, man. Color may have changed his mind, but Ink wasn't certain others would. The guards that he noticed were gathered outside the hospital's ground certainly wouldn't. He had to get out of here, before it was too late. For now, Ink accepted the replenishing food that Dr. Toriel brought him with a strange smile. He let her check him over and responded to her gentle probing about his exhaustion, pulling at it and testing the strength of the magic nullifying bracelet on his wrist. Unlike the one that had been on his ankle, it would easily break. Some part of Ink understood that the medical personnel had put another magic nullifier on him because he was pushing himself too much, yet his fears still remained. He tried not to picture a scenario where he was released from the magic nullifier in order to heal others, worked himself to exhaustion, and was placed back into nullifiers until he recovered enough to start the cycle again. If Ink was being honest with himself, that type of tactic might be even better at keeping him fatigued and contained than the sedative he'd cut out of himself. That he cut out of himself. He couldn't let that keep him trapped. I'll escape. I'll find Aster. I'll save you all. Somehow. Dan's tale was far from the first time that the Star Sands returned to the Omega timeline in defeat. It wasn't even the first time they had been forced to endure the panic and questions of the local monsters in the aftermath of the battle, with the crowd surrounding them and questioning if they had even won. It wasn't even a surprise that they had been held up for hours as the local monsters begged for reassurance that it truly was safe for their defenders to leave. It wasn't often that Nightmare's Gain went after the core that powered most of the undergrounds in the multiverse. They could in order to easily spread terror and misery, but they normally didn't. Dream knew it was because of Horror, who absolutely requested for the core to never be sabotaged or targeted. Dancetel's core was fine. The stolen parts had not caused the shutdown, and their scientists had repaired it within the hours that the Star Sands had remained. No one had been killed either. The only one who had been hurt was Red. As he sat in a small side chamber within the Omega Timeline Council building, Dream still could not process what had happened. The crushing weight of his failures pinned him to the chair, making it feel like a heavy stone was pressing down on his chest. He'd been as good as useless in Dancetale. Blue had spent the battle guarding him instead of fighting Cross. Now Red was in the Gain's hands. Cross said Nightmare had completely corrupted. Pain laced through Dream's chest, and his fingers dug into the fabric covering his legs. Hold it together. Just a little longer. He heard the low buzz of Blue's voice and uncomfortably turned back into his conversation with Core Frisk. It was a struggle to listen, not only because of Dream's own distraction, but because despite Blue's close proximity to him, he sounded far away. It was like Blue was speaking from the other side of a thick glass window. In contrast, Dream's breathing sounded far too loud. Doesn't matter whether it's all true or the Gain only thinks it is. We need to prepare, Blue was saying. Cross believes we have Arc. He implied that he's the protector. That can't be right, Core Frisk blurted. How could I not know? Their fear and desperation should make Dream feel faint, yet it didn't. It was clear from Core Frisk's voice that they were hopelessly confused and unable to accept or comprehend what they had missed, nor could they understand or accept what their very own Omega timeline had done. It was times like this that Dream was reminded, for all their power, Core Frisk was and always would be a child who couldn't understand why others became cruel. I made art of that quote. I drew art for that quote. Where is Dr. Fell? Dream rasped. Both Core Frisk and Blue immediately quieted in order to listen to him. Does he know? Blue looked down at his phone, fiddling with it. Dream was surprised it wasn't overwhelmed with messages from his brother. Stretch's phone was certainly overwhelmed with messages from Blue. We haven't been able to contact him or Edge, or my brother. Dream stared at the wall clock above the door. The numbers and hands were too blurry to make sense, but he was certain it had at least been a few hours since they returned from Dancetale. Are they alright? I went to Edge's house, but he isn't there. I can't find him, or Felgaster, or Stretch. I never noticed how many blind spots I have here. Corfrisk reached up and pulled at their hair as they gripped at their head. This is the Omega timeline. This is my home. I can't have missed so much again. Dream watched them shudder. His soul felt heavy, but it wasn't due to empathetic backlash. He should do something, he knew, but he couldn't make himself react, not even to comfort Corfrisk. Blue acted in his stead. He put his arm around Corfrisk's shoulders and pulled them into a half-hug. Corfrisk flinched and disappeared from Blue's arms, reappearing near the door. Let me check other places. They vanished quickly, but not before Dream caught sight of the tears on their cheeks. It was strange, but he could not feel much negativity from them. Then again, that wasn't the most recent development. Dream should have been able to feel the emotions of the people in the hospitals, at the park, and here in the council building. He certainly should have been able to sense Cross's anger and pain, along with the other gang members as they snuck up on the stars in red. Instead, everything was faint and distant, except Blue's emotions, which were a rolling mixture of relief that he and Dream were still unhurt, and worry for Corfrisk, Red, and everyone else. Blue's emotions were there, but even they were muffled. It made Dream feel blind. Dream's empathetic powers had drastically weakened and dulled. That might not be a good sign. Actually, it certainly wasn't. Dream was too exhausted to be afraid. A buzzing sound got louder, and Dream bleedily realized it was his phone. He fumbled with it, and it slipped from his fingers. Blue caught the phone, saw the caller ID, and immediately answered. Edge! I already know. Edge's voice was quiet and terse as he interrupted Blue. He cut off any response or apologies before either Star Sanses could make a sound. I can't delay my father anymore. Unless you want to lose the Protector, you need to get back to the Golden Rune right now. The stitches were crooked. Era purposely ignored them as he made another loop with the knitted needle. His hand trembled as he pulled, and the resulting stitch was also crooked. The hat he was making did not look much like a hat. It resembled an overly large sock more than anything. Era did his best not to mind. He focused on his task instead of destroying it like he so desperately wanted. The urge to destroy was always there. Always. The corruption wanted him to destroy the blue knitted hat, and the knitting guide, and everything else Ink left him before moving on to bigger targets. Era fought those urges, even as his hand shook. Crooked stitches and broken strands, pathetic and disgusting abominations. Why create? Why destroy? Destroy it! Destroy it! Destroy them all! And his broken skull ached terribly. Ink would be back. He had promised. Era would not go out to find him, find the Protector of Creation, because he had already found Ink. If Era left, he would end up destroying more worlds, and that was what the corruption wanted. Era pretended it was a desire to not be contrarian that made him stubbornly remain in place and refuse to listen to the corruption. It was better than accepting that he was desperate not to make things worse. He had to remain here in the anti-void. He had to. He cannot go out and tear apart every world and person he saw. How interesting. Even your creations are repulsive. Air jolted and flung a bone attack at the distortion of rippling shadows. Nightmare easily sidestepped and avoided the attacks, catching one in his tentacles as it flew past. He held it close, examining the glitching bone, and grinned at Era with teeth as sharp as knives. In that moment, Era knew it was not Nightmare at all. Corrupted. The wide smile did not falter. The toxic cyan eye light glared at him. Technically true, I suppose. I am corrupted, but I am still Nightmare. Era highly doubted that. He recognized what controlled Nightmare's body now. His instincts urged him to destroy the shadowy creature in front of him, but he restrained himself because it wasn't just his instincts that wanted him to kill. If the Destroyer killed Nightmare, the Negativity Guardian would not reform, the balance would crumble irreversibly, Era would lose himself again, and the corruption would win. If he didn't kill Nightmare, the corruption was free to use Nightmare's body to wreak more havoc upon the multiverse, because as much as Era would want to believe otherwise, he knew he could not keep the corruption contained. Either way, the corruption benefited, and it knew it. Since you've been locked up in here, I thought I would be a good ally and give you an update. Corrupted crooned. Era glared at him with every ounce of loathing he could muster, but did not attack. Corrupted's casual handling of his bone attacks warned him that Nightmare's body had received a major boost of power. It was doubtful that Era's strings would be able to restrain him now. We are not allies. Era spat. Doesn't matter. We're on the same side. Corrupted waved dismissively. and appeared to ignore Error's snarl. While Nightmare's tentacles tended to writhe and flick behind him, Corrupted's tentacles were unnaturally still, poised like vipers prepared to strike. Error noticed that the cyan sheen that Nightmare's tar held was gone, allowing the shadows to cut deeper into the bright white of the anti-void. Error's strings lashed out instinctively, cutting at the creeping shadows before they could take hold and form cracks. Corrupted barely reacted as his smile grew smug, like he knew those efforts were futile. There's no need for that, Destroyer. I'll be on my way in a moment. I just wanted to warn you. The Protector has been captured by the Omega timeline. Error froze in place. Even his glitches stopped flickering as his eye lights went out. The hat in his hand disintegrated, and the air around him crackled with codes, but Error did not look at them. He would not look. He refused to look. The Omega timeline must remain hidden. They know he works for me. They're torturing him. Corrupted's eye sockets squeezed shut in apparent grief. His sharp, wicked smile did not match the emotion he was faking. Even with all of the negative emotions Ink is projecting, I cannot find him. But you can find the Protector of Creation. If you tried, can't you? Error's strings lashed out once more. They wrapped around his own arms, legs, and ribs, pulling him to his knees and tethering him there. They snaked further over his limbs, weaving themselves together like ropes to heighten their strength as they locked him in place. Corrupted acted as if nothing had happened. He gave a mockingly cordial nod. I truly do hope you can locate poor Ink before it's too late. I wish you luck on your mission, Destroyer. He left Error alone once more, struggling to keep himself trapped in the anti-void and contained by his strings. Error's breathing was harsh and jagged, his glitches roaring to life almost like they had when he was corrupted by Overwrite. He refused to let them consume him again. He would resist. He must resist. Keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting. Don't let the corruption win again. The triad used in this fanfiction does not reflect actual triad's practice or medical policies. Thank you. Thank you, buddy. How does that feel, guys? How does it feel to have to have a new chapter once again? Entertain me while I eat, Rosa? Oh, hi. Hi, Aki.
Hi. Hi, Aki.
My Sheila. We love Aki. We love Aki. Rosa, are you live?
I am live. I'm alive. It's just your turn.
Alive. Oh, you were dead for like, it was okay.
It's just your turn.
Oh god, I'm gonna have to remember the voices. At this point, y'all are gonna get new voices. I don't feel like trying to remember shit.
Inky, I just remembered that you never read FTFO, so you're getting like majorly spoiled right now.
Majorly spoiled. Oh, that looks so good, Aki. Wait, I want a bite of that. Sorry, Aki just sent me a picture of what they were eating. Anyway, you're distracting me. Anyway. You're lucky, guys. For the Forgotten Ones, by I'm Sorry, Buddy. Chapter 33. Ruthless Pursuit. Ink startled awake to the sounds of muffled arguing, already starting. He had no idea what time it was, but his body's internal clock made him think it was late despite the constant white light that illuminated the Omega timeline. Providing further evidence that it was nighttime, Color was not present, having likely gone off shift while Ink was asleep. As Ink looked blearily around the hospital room and struggled to keep his eye sockets open, he was surprised to note that the replacement hadn't been sent in. Since Gino had been taking his turn to keep watch, he was already awake and had silently risen to his feet. His guarded posture swept the lingering haziness from Ink's mind and he sat up in bed, tensing as the voices grew closer. He's still resisting, someone protested, their voice pitched high with tension. Ink vaguely recognized them as one of the nurses. Sir, I cannot allow you to... I don't need your permission. A chill went down Ink's spine as he heard Dr. Felgaster, bitch ass. If he
Ew!
thought the scientist, what?
I just got disgusted upon hearing him.
I know, right? Immediate disgust. I like threw up in my mouth a little. Except I wouldn't because I hate throw up. Anyway,
Yeah.
he thought the scientist sounded hostile before. It was nothing compared to his voice now. Get out of the way. There was a brief objection. What the fuck? Objection. And a low thud, like someone had been pushed into a wall. A moment later, the door to Ink's hospital room was forced open. Dr. Felgaster strode through, accompanied by 2 guards. Both were fully armored in the Mega Timeline's guard uniforms, but Ink identified them as a Fail Guard 2 and a black and gray colored SWAT Fail Nabsaton.
Oh my god.
Fel Alfie slipped in behind Felgaster and lurked near the doorway. Her glasses hid her eyes, making them seem like they were an empty white as she stared at Ink. Her claws dug into the edges of the tablet she held. Despite the anger in her glare, Ink found his gaze darting between her and Dr. Fel. Dr. Fel. I keep trying to say just Dr. Gaster for some reason.
Just say like
Anyway.
Felgaster.
That's true.
If it's making it's
You
too
feel
big.
Yeah?
Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I thought it was funny. Anyway, you feel enough that you no longer need to stay here. Felgaster's eyes glowed red. Guards, arrest Ark. The former royal guard strode up to Ink and grabbed his arm just above the brace on his wrist. Ink was so shocked that he did not resist as he was bodily yanked out of the bed. I don't know what that means. He kept his footing, but his feet hit the floor hard enough that a lance of pain went up his leg, making his ankle sting in one swift moment. The guard latched metal magic nullifying cuffs on Ink's wrist while the SWAT fell Nabsaton picked up Ink's satchel. It all happened so quickly that for a moment, neither Ink nor Gino understood what was going on. Ink was halfway to the door by the time it clicked. He immediately dug in his heels and tried to stop himself, only for the god to yank him away. God. His harsh tug nearly pulled Ink out of his feet. The guard was so much taller than him that he was briefly pulled off the ground by his wrist, making him wince as his arm was twisted uncomfortably. Hey! Gino bellowed. He shoved Swapfel Nastyton out of the way and fiercely grabbed the other guard's arm. What do you think you're doing? The guard twitched like he wanted to attack Gino, but Dr. Fell waved him off. For now. We're arresting a criminal, Dr. Fell said icily. Stay back or you'll be joining him. Gino's features darkened. He smiled in a way that could be mistaken for amicable, if not for the violent glow of his eye light. I don't think so. Ink recognized that tone.
This is for my safety.
No. This is for my safety.
Put the
phone
phone down. This is for my safety. Put the phone down.
Ooh. Anyway. Like hell, I'm letting them take you after they murdered Aster. Gino spat. The glare Dr. Fell gave him was so cold that it was a surprise no attacks accompanied it. He spoke so lowly that even Ink didn't hear him. His attempts were just as pathetic. Ink recoiled. His breathing sharpened as he reminded himself that Aster was still alive. He had to be. But he still tried to calm Gino down before attacks started flying. Gino, we're in a hospital. Gino's eyes flickered but remained illuminated. Why are you tanking Ink? He broke our agreement. Dr. Fell's voice was too controlled for him to be anything but enraged. In the spite of danger, Ink could not hold an incredulous laugh. What agreement? I didn't make any agreement with you. But let me guess. You're talking about the removal of my sedative injecting device you put into my leg while I was unconscious. I have bad news for you, then. That doesn't count as an agreement. Aki stopped sending me Discord messages.
Dude, Ink, I love Ink so much. That was not as badass as he thought it was. I have bad news for you then. That doesn't count as an agreement. Get this guy off the
I'm bad
stage.
news then. Nuh-uh.
Get this guy off the
Yeah,
stage,
eat
dude.
that.
Get this guy off the
that.
stage.
I'm sorry, Aki. Actually, that gif is really funny. Anyway. He broke our engagement, doesn't count as an engagement. The look on Felgaster gave him the one of complete and utter loathing. Take him. Swapfel Nabsaton's arms extended and wrapped around Ink, squeezing his ribs. In a flash, it wasn't metal that restrained him, but ice-cold tentacles, like when a tentacle wrapped around his neck as a knife. Sharp tips and vicious claws tore at and broke his bones. A terrified cry wrenched its way from Ink's throat. It wasn't particularly loud, but it startled Swafel Nabsaton. His grip loosened as he stepped back, dropping Ink's satchel and embracing like he expected an attack. Ink wrenched himself free. He landed awkwardly but kept his footing, dodging the Royal Guard's attempt to grab him. A roaring growl was their only warning before a blaster appeared between Ink and the guard. Instead of opening its mouth and firing, it snapped at him, causing the Royal Guard to yelp and retreat. The glow indicated the prelude to summon bone attacks, but Gino did not have the opportunity to use them as Ink screamed in pain. He barely noticed how his body jerked as it was lifted off the ground once more, too distracted by the twisting sensation in his chest. Ink barely had time to identify that his soul was visible and glowing blue before he was thrown into the ground. The impact hurt less than the burning sensation that came from his soul, and he choked on another scream. Dr. Felsgaster's impassive expression, twitched, and he stared intently at Ink's soul. Encased by gravity magic as it was, the cracks and gouges were clearly visible. Gino saw Ink's soul and went still as his blaster snarled in fury. The guards also stopped moving, and Swapfel Nabstaton failed to hide the surprised look on his face. Red eye lights shifted from the scarred soul to Ink's face, and Ink locked eyes with Dr. Felgaster even as he trembled on the floor. He glared defiantly. Some parts of him wanted to demand that the scientist finish the job like he so clearly wanted to. The more logical part of him reminded himself that if Dr. Fell destroyed his soul like this, he would not get the results he so clearly wanted. The smart thing to do would be to give in and go quietly until they were out of the hospital. Ink was too angry and tired of aggressors' attempts to cow him to have the tolerance for that. I can't believe you think you're the hero, Ink spat. Dr. Felgaster's jaw clenched for a moment. Ink thought the scientist might actually crush his soul, or beat him until he fell unconscious, just like Corrupted had. Felgaster kept himself in check as he gave Ink a look so filled with hatred that it was like he saw Nightmare himself instead of one of his recruits. You deserve worse, Dr. Fell said icily. He wrenched his glowing hand up, and Ink's soul followed the movement, sending
Can I
jolts
say
of pain
something?
through his ribs. No. Yes?
I think this is a very good commentary on people and like their belief towards those who are forced to commit crimes in order to feed their family rather than actually blaming the big problem, which is the system behind it.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna continue, because that's like a really good point.
No, I mean, there's not much else to say. Like, the fact that Dr. Felgacher everyone's so pissy towards Ink simply because he worked with the gang, but they're not even asking why potentially that happened. And, like, potentially wondering why maybe he was forced into that type of situation. Because they can all understand that the bad Santas in themselves have, like, they were forced in some different ways. You know?
Yeah.
But they can't think that with Ink. You know, it's weird. So I find that interesting. I mean, there's no other points to be made. It's like the scene is basically my evidence.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. Oh my god, I lost.
You were at he wrenched his glowing hand up.
Yeah. He wrenched his glowing hand up, and Ink's soul followed the movement, sending jolts of pain through his ribs as he was shoved into a kneeling position. Gino's eyes flashed between red and blue so rapidly it was dizzying, and a bead of red dripped from the corner of his mouth. Okay. Ink could see him debating whether it was worth it to let his blaster fire at Felgaster and the guards. Alfie stood off at the side, watching dispassionately. This is your last warning. Dr. Felgaster's hand twitched, and Ink couldn't stop a flinch as another twinge of pain went through his soul. Stay out of my way, or you will regret it. Gino said nothing. His eyelights burned so intensely that if he had his hood up, Ink might think he was air. The guards grabbed Ink's arm, and the third entered. Yawning.
Wait, did you fix the
Sorry.
problem where you would like cut out when you were talking on Discord?
I think so.
Because chat's like, oh my god, Beetle hasn't cut out yet.
Oh, leave me alone. Leave me alone, you guys. I'm just.
No,
I'm
they're
just a mere-
they're
a
proud
mere
of you.
noodle.
They're proud of you.
Yippee! Okay. Anyway. Guards grabbed Ink's arm, and a third enter. Duh. They must be communicating between themselves through some type of internal communicators in their helmets. The number of arms and shape of armor suggested his guard was a Muffet alternate. I love Muffet. The halls are clear, she reported. Her stare was hidden by her helmet, but Ink could feel it burning into his skull. Stay quiet, or we knock you out. Got it?
Why is there police
Ink
brutality in an Undertale fanfiction?
Why is there police brutality? I mean, I don't know, bro.
Muffet, what are you doing? This is police
Muffet!
brutality. Stop. Bro, this is not okay.
You shouldn't do this. You should know that this is bad. Ink did not agree, not even by nodding or passively averting his gaze. He merely stared back at her in mute rebellion. Another yawn. Sorry. Guard Muffet scoffed and threw a plain gray cloak over Ink, pulling the hood up. He noted how it not only hid his face, but his magic-afflicted soul from his view as well. From view. Yeah. They were trying to hide his identity and situation. Too bad for them, Ink wasn't done resisting. After all, a more cautious approach got Aster tossed into the void. Despite their aggression, it seems the guards weren't willing to fire magic attacks in the hospital room. It ultimately took all three of them and Dr. Felgaster's manipulation to get Ink out of the door. Unlike the guards, Ink didn't have armor, so the scuffle left him with several cuts and bruises. Ink was just relieved that his snakes had obediently remained hidden and silent in his scarf instead of emerging to defend Ink from his assailants. Yeah. He could feel them quivering restlessly, made anxious by his distress. They needed to stay hidden. He couldn't lose them. Gino grabbed Ink's satchel and stalked after the guards in complete silence. Ink had the sinking feeling that Blaster would start firing the moment they stepped outside. Personally, he hoped to still be conscious by the time they reached the front door. It would be a good sign if he wasn't knocked unconscious or sedated for transport. That might mean that Felgaster had the faintest bit of legitimacy to his arrest attempt. The council might genuinely want Ark arrested. Ink could handle a cell. It was a lab that scared him. The hallway was mostly empty and its lights were slightly dimmed, again proving it was the night cycle in the Omega timeline. Ink wondered if his screams had been too quiet for anyone else to hear, or if they were too used to hearing such things come running. The moment the guards dragged him out the door, Ink got the clasp of the cloak in his mouth and tore it with his teeth, tossing his head. The cloak immediately slipped from his skull and shoulders. It fell to the floor and left his brown hooded scarf and affected soul exposed. Swapfel Napsaton gave Ink a harsh shake as a warning while Guard Muffet leaned over to grab the gray cloak. It was already too late. Oi! Where you taking the healer? Oh, okay. A familiar Kara in
That's
the
a Kara.
I don't know. I saw Oi. I didn't see who was yeah. Oi! Where are you taking the healer?
Maybe this
A
Kara is a
familiar
New
Kara.
Yorker.
Leave me alone. I can't help it. A familiar Kara in a lab coat strode fearlessly to the guards. Their voice was loud and demanding in a way that Ink's voice couldn't manage. He immediately heard shuffling sounds and the creaking from southern some of the other rooms. Dr. Felgaster's eye sockets narrowed, but Guard Muffet did not miss a beat.
You're mistaken, Doctor. And please lower your voice. Patients are trying to sleep.
That was not a Dr. Kara. Ink knew it in an instinct. Neither he nor Kara corrected the guards. Doctor. Kara's brown eyes flashed red. Oh, you're gonna try that, huh? Release the healer. Ink saw the guard Muffet's hands move slightly and wondered what kind of message she was passing to the others. You are interfering with official council business, Dr. Fell interjected coldly. This is not your concern. The look on Kara's face was infuriated. It was an infuriated blend of I've never had to say this word out loud. Incredulity, and outrage. I give up. Ink studied them more closely and belatedly recognized them as the sibling of the Asriel he had healed. I think it's my concern. Let go of his soul, now! Ink winced at the volume of their voice, even as it got results. If the neighboring patients weren't awake before, they were now. Several doors opened and a few nurses and doctors appeared, along with what may be a few hospital security guards. Ink heard Gino grunt and glanced back at him in concern to see a meek Chiron was apologizing for knocking into him. It was clear the guards did not expect a crowd. The armored monsters closed in on Ink, mostly blocking him from view, but it was not for his protection. They acted too late. Enough monsters and humans had already seen Ink. More importantly, they recognized him as the healer that saved so many lives. The security guards' rather unenthusiastic attempts to clear the area were botched, as more and more people were drawn in by the commotion, their confusion whispers becoming heated. Is that the healer? Why is it so like that? What are those stars, damned guards, doing? Wait, does the Omega timeline really take healers? I thought that was a morbid joke. Are we sure they're guards? The loud voices and questions drew more people in. Soon the crowd was overwhelming as they blocked the hallway. Ink never thought he'd be grateful to see so many strangers, all filling in one space and closing in around him on all sides. The opposite was the case for his guards. It was Swapfel Nabsatan who lost his cool first. Enough! Enough of this! He isn't a healer! He exploded, his voice amplified by the speakers in his body. He's Ark of Nightmare's gang. A silence fell over the crowd that was so thorough that
Idiot!
hums and beeps of machines from several of the rooms. The atmosphere in the hallway became a lot colder, as though the warmth of a hearth had been replaced by a blizzard in the heart of Snowdon. Ink barely noticed when Dr. Felgaster released his soul, leaving it in its white, cracked state as it began to pulse faster in terror. Shit. Swap Felnafstan said faint. Well, yeah, no fuck. His soul
Stupid
illuminated
bitch.
with blue magic, and he was slammed into the ceiling. Ink thought he heard Gino yell as the crowd exploded into motion, surging forward. Dr. Felgaster did not have time to summon his magic before he was shoved hard enough that he hit the wall. The guards fared no better, as they were thrown aside by the same kind of magic that had kept Ink contained. The crowd had become a terrifying force once more as it closed around Ink, their shouts and words overlapping until they became indecipherable. The brief sense of safety Ink felt was gone. Once again, there were too many people. But this time, they were not indifferent to Ink's existence. The secret was out. They knew who he was. They knew he worked for Nightmare. Ink could not make himself try to run. His leg was still in the walking cast anyway. Even without it, his limbs felt too weak, like he'd collapse after a few steps. Ink would not make it a few steps. He was surrounded by a mob. He knew Horror would want him to fight back, but he could hear the thought of fighting these people. But he couldn't bear the thought of fighting these people, many of whom he had recently healed. Okay, let me restart. He knew Horror would want him to fight, but he knew Horror would want him to fight back, but he couldn't bear the thought of fighting these people, many of whom he had recently healed. Ink felt the snake stir in his scarf, but kept them at bay as he squeezed his eye sockets shut. Hands grabbed Ink, and he shuddered, bracing himself as he was pulled forward. Fur-covered arms that felt large as Ink's whole body wrapped as large as Ink's whole body wrapped fully around him and lifted him off the ground. Ink knew this monster was an Asgore without needing to look. He could crush Ink's bones as easily as Corrupted's tentacles did. Asgore didn't break Ink's bones or throw him to the ground. His hold was just firm enough to keep Ink close to his chest as he turned on his heel and ran. Ink's eye socket snapped open, and he saw the crowd had split, stepping aside as Asgore ran through them and back into place once again. He had passed. Once he had passed. Ink turned his head, staring back in shock as Scientist Kara, a familiar scientist Undine, and a Flowey held the guards back while others shouted at the guards and fell gaster. Burning red eyes locked with Ink's before a few taller monsters blocked his view of his attempted captors.
That's so
A few of
funny.
the crowd
They were just
shouted-
like, they grabbed him and they were like, run! Go! Get him out!
Literally.
That's so fucking insane.
Literally played fucking
He picked him up
Magic
and
grab, bro.
sprint. Wow.
kidnapping, but the good version. A few
Beetle. It ain't that funny.
No, Aki sent me a message, and unfortunately I looked at it. Anyway, Ink's eye sockets. Oh wait, I read this. Leave him alone. He helped us, and this is the thanks he gets. What the hell is wrong with you? You're not taking him anywhere, assholes. Ink's terror faded in as his mind went blank with shock. The crowd's declarations fading into a faint buzzing that was almost masked by the sounds of his sharp breathing. They were protecting him? Seeking some kind of explanation, he looked up at the Asgore that carried him in confusion. He caught Ink's gaze and smiled kindly, though it had a strange edge to it. I apologize for carrying you so unexpectedly. I apologize for grabbing you so unexpectedly and carrying you like this, healer. Would you prefer Ark? Ink whispered. Miraculously, Asgore heard him. I am Asgore, caretaker Asgore of Underswap, to be precise. Stretch contacted me, though I was initially here to visit a friend. I wish we met in calmer circumstances, perhaps with a nice cup of tea. Oh, this was the Asgore of Blue's world. Ink's breathing stuttered, slowing down, and his damaged soul faded from view. The tense crease in Asgore's forehead smoothed out, and he ran through a door that separated one of the hospital wings. Dr. Toriel had met them on the other side and beckoned them into a small office. She shut the door as soon as they entered and eyed a heavy machine as though she was debating whether to block the entrance with it. I apologize that the security didn't arrive more quickly, Ink. I do not know who let the guards into the premises. She scanned Ink. Are you hurt? Ink shook his head and stared at the manacles that were still around his wrists. His soul beat picked up. Where's Gino? Asgore's eyes lit with recognition. He's with the Sands with the scarf and melted eye socket, correct? I believe a river person hid him. My mouth dried out. Ink wondered why Asgore was still holding him instead of setting him down. Then he realized he had latched onto Asgore's purple polo shirt. Asgore was in the regular kind of civilian attire one would expect for a casual day, not anything meant for a battle. Ink couldn't make his fingers uncurl to release the fabric. Please don't let them arrest Gino either, Ink half requested, half pleaded. I can work as a healer here as payment. Asgore seemed upset. Dr. Toriel kept her composure. We aren't going to make you do anything in exchange for our existence. Right then, she sounded like Sino, who I thought was once called Chichino. Ink hoped
You didn't
he
even say it
hear
right.
about this.
It's Chino. It's
Oh,
frap.
wait,
It's
I said it.
you said it wrong twice.
I said it backwards. Yeah, I thought it was Cicino, when I meant to say it was Chino.
No.
Oh. Well, which one is it again? It's not Cicino, right?
It's Chino because it's short for Frappuccino.
Oh yeah, okay. Frappuccino. Ink hoped he didn't hear about this mess. There was already too many people in danger because of him. Ink should be happy more people were helping, or afraid that they could end up like Aster. He was still too stunned to fully process what was happening. Oh, thank you, Ink said numbly. Dr. Toriel closely inspected the cuffs around Ink's wrists. These are also magic nullifiers. I can remove them. True to her word, she went to her desk and pulled out some small tools. She wasted no time in breaking open the cuffs, working with such self-assurance that she must have done something like this multiple times before. The cuffs soon came off, and Dr. Toriel tossed them aside with a look of disgust. Thanks, Ink mumbled again, still stunned by the sudden turn of events. I didn't believe they would actually try to take me. Ink was in too much shock to be terrified. That might change for the moment. He struggled to even accept that what had almost happened. Dr. Fell almost took him from the hospital, likely without permission, if the guard's sketchier actions were an indication. Why didn't Dr. Fell sedate Ink again or make things clear? If he did not have permission to arrest Ark, all he had to do was have his guards disguise themselves as doctors or nurses, knock Ink out, and leave him with him. Did Feldgaster want Ink to be conscious and aware as he was dragged off so that he could dread it? Or did he believe Ink would meekly go with him like how Fresh expected Ink to not fight back? None of those opinions painted a very nice picture. Shock began to lose its grip on Ink, and dread curled in his soul. Can Dr. Fell illegally arrest me? No, Dr. Toriel denied. Even if he had a reason, he has no right to forcibly remove you from the hospital. I haven't released you from my care. Her eyes narrowed to slits, and I see even less reason to now. I've noticed you said arrested with implied quotations twice now, Asgore interjected. Could you explain? Ink shrugged listlessly. Dr. Fell isn't arresting me because of who my boss is. He probably wants to put me in his lab and experiment on me. The two caretakers looked at each other. Asgore's fingers flexed like crossing killers whenever they wanted to summon a weapon. Ink finally managed to force his hands open, and he slowly lifted them away from Asgore's shirt. The fabric was crinkled. Toriel put her wrist near her mouth. Sorry. Toriel put her wrist near her mouth, and Ink saw a small communicator there. Security. Security. Subtly get Geno-sans away from the crowd if possible. And Undyne's voice came through, working on it. We're playing dumb if the counselor. People are pissed. No attacks flying yet, though. My mouth is dry. The office door opened and Ink's soul leapt into his throat. Asgore stepped in front of him, summoning a trident and pointing it at the intruder. Edge froze in place and raised his hands. Lord Asgore, I promise you that I am on the protector's side. Sans? Sorry.
Yeah, why
trident.
was that like such a fucking... Oh, it's Edge! I thought you were still reading Toriel. I was like, why did you use a papyrus voice for her?
I'm sorry.
Can you get water? Can you get water?
That's all the way up the stairs, though.
Go get water.
God damn it! Damn it, Elle! Oh my god, I can't stop looking at this fucking picture Hockey sent me.
Go get water!
Okay, I'm going.
They're gonna get water so they don't sound like they're like dying and stuttering every single 2 seconds. Ooh. I can't believe we're almost done with it. If we get through 4 chapters here, next stream we're probably gonna get to close to the 40th chapter. Oh my gosh. We only have a couple streams left, really. I feel like we can finish it before January. Still in 2025. It'll be very emotional. It'll be a very emotional day when it's over. what would be your bedtime stories then? I would make a playlist of all of the live streams and put it on my channel so people could just go rewatch if they want to. Then you can read Spilled Ink again instead. I haven't even read it myself yet, so we will see. We will see.
We're so back. I even got to put in my little electrolytes squirt. You know the little like droplet things you get for to flavor the water?
Yeah.
I put some of that in here. It's full of electrolytes and it tastes like strawberries and I love it. I also got myself a pear that looks like an apple, but it's an Asian pear and that's why it looks like an apple. It's not an apple though.
Take
Let
a
me
big
drink
old
some
bite.
water.
Take a big old
Big old
chomp.
bite. ASMR for the stream.
Yeah, put it up to the mic.
Did you hear that?
No, not at all.
Oh, hold on. Damn, that was so good too.
Okay, I heard that one.
That was good, right?
That was okay. It was an okay crunch.
It's so good. Because it's not like crunchy. Damn, this is really good. I haven't had Asian pear in so long. Mmm. Mmm. Oh my god, I feel so much better.
Lock in now.
Dude, I told you getting water would help me, Rosa. But you wanted me to stay.
That's not what I said.
That's exactly what she said. Right, chat?
Okay.
They'll agree with me.
Drink your water.
I did.
Okay. Lock in then.
Anyway.
Da-da-da, working on it. Da-da-da. I'm on the protector side. Sans? Asgore's trident lowered a little. Then it lowered more as he exhaled. As he exhaled, I can hear my dog. Go away! He's scratching at my door. My dog's sniffing and scratching under my door, and it's distracting me.
Ignore him.
It's really hard because he's crying, and he sounds like a small toddler when he cries. Anyway. Okay. Stretch implied as much, Asgore agreed. Did I skip something? Yeah, I did. Asgore trident lowered a little, then lowered more as he exhaled shakily. Why must Stretch always keep important information to himself? Red's eyes, not that one. Edge's red eyes glowed. Highlights glowed, unlike Felgaster's. His were much less cold.
Ah, you're the Swap Asgore from Blue's World. We need to get Ink out of here.
Stretch implied as much, Asgore agreed. I can't leave without Gino, Ink insisted. Edge grimaced.
We must leave. I delayed my father as long as I could and convinced him to wait until the night cycle to retrieve you, but he will start attacking to get to you.
God, Papyrus's voice is so funny that, like, I have to hold back giggles from any time I do it. Anyway, Dr. Toriel scowled and drew herself up.
I will delay him now. Be safe.
She swept past Edge, leaving Asgore on guard while Ink looked to Edge in despair. You don't understand, he said helplessly. All I did was heal people. What changed? Ed flinched subtly and looked down the hall. At first glance, it would seem like he was checking for danger. Ink could tell Edge simply did not want to look at him. Nightmare, this gang has red. With that, Dr. Felgaster's haste and drastic increase in violence actions made a lot more sense. Now the question was whether he intended to give Ink up, or he intended to make Ink hurt in every way possible, in every way that he believed the gang was hurting his son. Dr. Fell's harshness and implied threats seemed to imply the latter. Ink looked up at Edge with huge eye sockets. They won't kill him. Edge interrupted flatly. They want an exchange. That did not make Ink feel better. He could only pray that the gang would show mercy. They had to know that Ink didn't want this, so they would not harm their prisoner, right? The sounds of arguments got louder as the blockade became a scuffle. A few guards rushed by and heeled in the direction of the shouting. and headed in the direction of the shouting. I really need my glasses. Unfortunate. Ink's guilt was crushing, but he pushed. Ink's guilt was crushing, but he pushed through it. If you're caught, everyone is doomed. I can contact them to make sure Red isn't hurt. They'll listen to me. When he did, he'd have to be extremely careful to make sure they didn't think he was being forced or coerced into calling them. That would only make things worse. Edge looked like he was in physical pain. Ink couldn't use magic at that moment to check that he wasn't. I hope you're all right. Ink didn't have the energy to try to be reassuring. He hoped Edge and Asgore's help wasn't a trick. They headed towards the exit, walking, not running, as several guards hurried by them. Between Asgore's and Edge's much larger frames, Ink managed to hide from view whenever they passed. Ink heard a rustle of moving fabric and looked back as a river person's light blue coat drifted by them. Gino peeked out from beneath the cloak before he stepped into view with a shiver. The river person did not say a word and kept floating straight through a wall. Wait, what? It's a ghost? Is that possible?
People assume that river person's a ghost.
I didn't think so. I thought he was just like a monster in a cloak, like a mysterious.
Well, it's also
Or just
they're just weird. They're just weird. That's the whole point of them just going through the wall. They're just weird.
I love river person. Anyway, did not say a word and kept floating straight through a wall. Ink, Gino, Asgore, and Edge stared after them in stunned silence before Gino spoke up. Why are you? Gino paused and reconsidered his question. You know what? That can wait. I'm Gino. We need to go.
I'm Edge. This is Swap Asgore and agreed.
He sounds like Starscream that I am making his voice, and that's really funny. Edge Beck. Oh, you know what? That would be a really cool voice claim for Edge to have him as like prime Starscream's like voice. That would be so good. I need to focus. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry, a little bit of tism started to sneak out. Edge beckoned them through another door, giving a passing doctor a sharp look as they hurried through it. The next hallway split off in several directions, with two leading to the other wings while the last led to the lobby. It was suspiciously empty. Still wary of a trap, Ink halted in place. Gino nearly walked into him, but he did not complain as the door to the right opened, allowing someone through. It was Fel Alphys. Ink had been so focused on Felgaster and the guards that he had forgotten about her. A tidbit of this particular Alphys drifted through his head. Whether he heard it from one of the gang or learned it was it when he received Undertale's burned codes didn't matter. What did matter was that in more than one timeline, Fel Alphys let Frisk die to the Amalgamates to test their determination. Ink instinctively stepped back and almost bumped into Gino. Fel Alphys' eyes were hidden by her glasses, leaving reflective blankness, and showed no emotion.
Where were you when Underfell was destroyed?
Ink knew he was asked the same question. He'd be asked the same question eventually. It didn't make it hurt any less. I don't know if I existed yet. I was trapped for a long time. I'm sorry. Fel Alphys' face remained expressionless and cold.
That's not good enough.
She pressed something on her tablet. Both Edge and Asgore summoned weapons, likely expecting her to bring out mechs or robots to attack. No such attack came. There was a soft beep, and Ink felt a burning pain in his lower leg. It sharpened like he was stabbed with a white-hot poker, and something snapped loudly right before his leg buckled beneath him. The shock was so great that Ink did not react to the searing pain, not making a sound as he collapsed. Ink! Gino caught him before he could hit the floor, lowering Ink slowly to the ground as he curled over him protectively and frantically searched for an assailant. Ink's vision blurred and swayed, his head pounding as his leg burned, and he distantly realized that the feeling of piercing white-hot metal was not figurative this time. Alfie's icy voice was just audible above the terrifying pulse of Ink's soul.
That was a warning. If you leave the Omega timeline, I will blow your leg off. So do yourself a favor and give up.
By the time Ink's vision stopped swimming and he looked up, she was gone. Edge pulled Ink's loose pant leg up and hurriedly unwrapped the cast
the walking cast, exposing the bones underneath. Asgore flinched when Gino looked nauseated by the injury. Ink himself remained rather detached despite the sight of blood and broken bones. The code nullifying manacle that had been partially melted by a small explosive. The device was mostly intact, but bits of it had embedded itself into his leg from his ankle to his knee. Even without knowledge of explosives, Ink could tell from the specks of blood that it had been purposely crafted in a way that shrapnel would go up his leg instead of outward. The lingering burning sensation covered most other feelings in the area, but Ink suspected that the remaining cuff had melted and maybe partially fused with the bone. Fel Alphys had control over the device that kept sedating me, Ink realized too late. She must have been watching me this whole time through cameras. Are there other magic nullifiers? Are there other magic nullifiers? Edge demanded. Breathing evenly to try to ward off the pain, Ink raised his wrist. In the chaos, he'd forgotten about the unassuming thin band. Edge summoned a small bone attack and sliced through it. He tossed the pieces aside. Heal yourself.
Heal yourself.
Ink winced at the wording. He felt the pull of his green magic, but forced it. Oh my god. Heal yourself. That's not nice. Anyway, he knew Ink winced at the wording. He felt pull of his green magic, but forced it down. His voice was steady. I can't yet. If I do, pieces will be healed inside the bone, and it will become infected. He knew Fel Alphys had done it on purpose. She was determined to keep him from using codes. First, she had sedated him with a device in his femur. Now she had threatened to use more violent and permanent methods that would maim him. The realization that he'd been unknowingly wearing such a malicious device for days hit Ink, and he shuddered. Gino stood up with Ink in his arms. Does the Omega timeline have any shortcuts? Edge appeared uncertain.
Corfrisk has likely blocked them in case patients panicked and tried to use them to escape.
The sound of armored footsteps came from the hall they had just left, drawing closer, and Gino swore. It only made it... Yawning. Ugh. I don't know why reading makes me yawn, but it does. He only made it 2 steps before they heard running from the door they needed to exit. Gino stopped and his eyelights glowed as Asgore and Edge stood defensively at his sides, each facing a door. Ink bit his tongue so he would not voice a plea for them to leave him before they got in trouble. He knew they wouldn't, so instead he tried to come up with a way to make sure they didn't end up like Aster. Without warning, Edge's shoulders slumped and his bone attack vanished. Thank the stars. Ink's confusion faded as his green magic detected a familiar, warm, unhealthy, tired presence. The door slammed open and Dream and Blue strode through just as the guards emerged from the other side with Dr. Fell in the lead. Dr. Felgaster spotted Ink, his face twisted with His face twisted with fury, but saw Dream just a moment later. He halted in his tracks and his eyelight glowed violently. Dream did not flinch or falter. He strode forward until he physically placed himself between Ink and Felgaster. His back was straight, his chin held high, and his stance was firm as he stared Dr. Felgaster down. What are you doing? Black soaked the lower leg of Ink's pants and dripped onto the floor, but he was distracted from his own injury by Dream. Dream's soul beat was way too high, sweat beaded on his brow, his eyelights were too pale. All of Ink's instinct demanded that he assist the sick guardian that was mere seconds from collapsing, but he kept himself still. If he tried to help, his assistance would be seen as an attack by Felgaster. It may also be seen as a sign of weakness for Dream. Although Dream's illness had concerned Ink, his fear was kept at bay by the warmth that bloomed in his chest, making his throat feel tight as his eye sockets stung. The star stanzas were finally here. They came to help. Ink's gratitude, relief, and joy swelled up. He might be imagining things, but Dream seemed to stir and appeared less frail. Dr. Felgaster kept an aloof expression, but his eyelids still burned with hate. Ink hoped his anger was not burning Dream too badly. Ark is being taken into custody. He is not. Dream's voice was soft. Oh, he's not. Dream's voice was soft, but it carried in the tense silence of the hospital hall. You are out of line, Doctor. Dr. Fell kept glaring, but a couple of guards shifted nervously. Edge took the opportunity to move closer to Gino. He gave him a black stare, only to relent as Edge pulled bandages from a pouch on his belt. Edge silently wrapped Ink's leg as best as he could, keeping an eye on the standoff between Dream and Dr. Felgaster as he did so. Gino spoke in a voice so softly only Ink heard. And who are these two? The Star Sands as I've told you about, Ink whispered. They're okay. Gino remained on his guard as he held Ink defensively close to his chest. You're interfering, Dr. Fell began. You do not have permission to take Ark, and I know you went behind the backs of Corfrisk and other council members to do this. A majority of them were never informed that Ark was here. Dream's neutral expression softened, and we will discuss what to do next. Red will be returned safely without the need of violence. For now, Ark will stay with me. His soft look vanished for a moment, and Ink saw nightmare in his face. If anyone attempts to take him, there will be consequences. Dream turned on his heel, exposing his back to Dr. Fell, and Ink saw Blue tense. Dream did not seem troubled. It was almost as if he was daring Felgaster to attack him. He didn't, but if looks could kill, Dream would be dead Dream would be dead where he stood. Rosa, you were right. I'm not goated.
You
I'm
need
not
your
goated.
glasses.
This shit is getting me.
You need your glasses.
My glasses. I do need my glasses.
My glasses? Where are my glasses?
I feel like Velma over here.
We might end after I read my chapter, and then next week you need to get your glasses, Beetle.
Yeah, I'll probably find them by then. It's around the house somewhere. Ink remembered Fell Alfie's threat and repressed a shiver. Wait, no, that's wrong. When Dr. Felgaster understood that Dream was indeed leaving, he called after them. If you take him away from the Omega timeline, your protection is null and void. We will pursue him. Anyone who assists him in an escape will be treated as an enemy. Ink remembered Fell Alfie's threat and repressed a shiver. Dream did not look back. He did not even acknowledge that he heard Felgaster as he swept from the room. Blue and Gino did not hesitate to follow him out, while Underthwop Asgore remained behind Gino and Ink. It was clear he did not trust Felgaster or the guards to let them leave peacefully. Edge, Dr. Felgaster barked his son's name, with the implied demand that he... Oh, I'm restarting that. Edge, Dr. Felgaster barked his own son's name, with the implied demand that he remain. Edge's back was to the guards, so only Ink and Blue, who looked back at them, saw him wince. Ink reached out and gripped the cuff of Edge's glove. Edge looked down at him, but Ink didn't know what to say. Whatever he showed seemed to be enough. Edge's harsh features relaxed slightly before they hardened again and nodded to his father. I will be guarding Ink. That statement could be taken in several ways. Ink knew it meant Edge would be guarding Ink from threats rather than guarding him to keep him imprisoned. Dr. Felgaster understood as well. He did not try to argue with his son in front of the other guards and silently let them go. Although Dr. Fell was angry, Edge was not the main target of his ire. Ink felt Dr. Fell's eyes on him. It was only as the door began to swing shut behind them that Ink dared to look. He saw a glimpse of Corfrisk as they appeared directly in front of Dr. Felgaster, like they were blocking his way. Then the door made a soft thunk as it swung back into place, hiding them from view. Dream wavered and doubled over, dry heaving. Ink's attention snapped to him, scanning him rapidly. That doesn't even look like... But he had the feeling that this was not something he could mend with green magic alone. Blue was at Dream's side in an instant, supporting him before he could collapse. Dream clung to his arm and breathed raggedly but kept standing. Me when I have cramps? We need to go, Dream insisted. Blue nodded and supported Dream more firmly, allowing them to walk. It would be more accurate to say that Blue walked while carrying Dream against his side. Although his expression pinched with concern, Blue's smile was bright. I can't believe you did that. I can't believe it either, Dream said faintly. His eyelights moved to Ink's face, and he appeared torn. In Prism's multiverse, Dream was the one of his Ink's many honorary uncles. In other multiverses, they were close friends.
And in this one, they're boyfriends.
Dream and Ink are not boyfriends in this one.
Yes, they are.
What are you talking about? Rosa? Rosa? Are you there? My mic muted? Are you sitting there in shame?
No. Why would I be ashamed?
Because you said in this universe they were boyfriends, even though they're not.
Yes, they are.
This is for the forgotten ones. Ink and Dream are not boyfriends.
Well, we would be hypocritical, Beetle, for saying that Blue and Dream are boyfriends and For the Forgotten Ones then.
No, we wouldn't.
Yes, we would be.
They are so gay for each other.
They call
are
each other
so gay for each
brothers.
other.
They call each other brothers.
Do they?
Yes.
Oh well. No one gets to date anyone now. No one gets to be happy. No one. I don't know
agree
why.
with
In my head, for the Forgotten Ones Inc. Just no, absolutely no one. No one can date this guy. It doesn't feel right. Anyway, that's my personal opinion. My personal opinion is okay. In Prism's multiverse, Dream was one of Ink's many honorary uncles. In other multiverses, they were close friends. In this multiverse, they were nearly strangers. Yet Dream and Blue had rushed to Ink's defense anyway. Ink's gratitude welled up again, and Dream startled. Ink didn't try to repress his positive emotion. Ink didn't try to repress his positive emotions.
In other universes, they're good friends. Liar! There's more universes out there that have different dynamics.
That's so true.
They're
though.
just
That's so
friends.
true. I agree with that.
They're
just
just
friends.
They're
No,
just
don't
friends.
look at me with that look in your eyes. Anyway, what a throwback. I can't thank you enough. Once we're out of here, can I hug you and please give you a checkup? Dream's mouth moved wordlessly for a moment before he settled on a question. Why? Although he was a bit confused by the question, Ink still gave Dream a beaming smile. Because you look like you need one, and hugs help make people feel better. I'm not joking. They can actually help lower stress. As for the checkup, he began a passive scan of Dream's vitals and felt warmth in his eye sockets. He guessed his eyelights had turned a soft green that matched the interior of his hooded scarf. Blue's surprised gasp confirmed his suspicion, much like the scans confirmed his suspicions about Dream's ill health. Since there was still a possibility that any show of magic would be perceived as an attack, Ink resisted the instinct to reach out and heal. Ink frowned. Your soul beat is concerningly high. You need to rest and eat. Did you eat anything today? Dream gaped at him. Gino's forehead crinkled, and Blue muffled a laugh. Edge seemed flummoxed. You really are a healer. Ink frowned at him. I thought I proved that already. I mean, I had to hide it for a while, but now I don't want to, quite frankly. Should I wear a label or something? Underfell Asgore gave a low chuckle. Dream remembered himself. Please focus on yourself, Ink. Your leg is... He carefully reached over and moved the fabric of Ink's pants leg. Pant leg? He hastily put it back. Fragments need to be removed. Oh wait, the fragments need to be removed. I could perform I could provide assistance, but some of the pieces look deep. Ink already knew. He wondered if he was simply enough in shock that he couldn't feel much of the pain, or if he was so used to pain that it didn't bother him as much as it should. I can do it myself. I can't stay in the hospital. The Omega Timeline scientists knew what they were doing when they locked that code nullifier around Ink's ankle. He should have expected it to be more than a passive cuff that simply stopped him from using codes. These scientists had been creating weapons to try to stop someone like the Destroyer after all. This would not have stopped error, but Ink was not error. Sorry. Until the nullifier was removed, Ink would either be severely hindered in his use of codes or unable to use them at all. And even then, there was a risk of him losing a leg if Alphys followed through on her threat. If Ink tried to stay in in the hospital long enough for such a procedure. He and everyone near him would be in danger. All over again, I pressed the back button by accident. No! Where? La 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 la. All over again. He didn't trust Dr. Felgaster to leave him alone while he was under any doctor's care. If Felgaster and Alphys wanted the protector to be on their side, they wouldn't have incapacitated me like this. They really do plan to do something to me, don't they? Ink's soul gave a nervous pulse. We can get you to underswap. The doctor's there, Blue began. The cuff has an explosive in it. Ink interrupted. No one else is in danger, I think. Fel Alphys implied it was just strong enough to take my leg off if I leave the Omega timeline. Blue looked nauseous. He didn't stagger off, but it was clear that he was breathing slowly and trying not to look sick. Maybe Stretch can do something about that. He's likely being watched. Underswap Asgore warned. Because that was definitely Underswap Asgore. I was unable to contact you after you left the hospital in Underswap. None of my messages went through. Blue's eyelights lost some of their color. Oh, that is not ideal. Dream fiddled anxiously with the cuffs on his gloves. I can try to get someone to come to my home to assist Ink, but it won't be easy. I can get a scientist to help. I'll get a scientist to help. Oh, okay, I know who this is. I'll get a scientist to help. Gino was the only one that jumped when Corfrisk appeared by his elbow. Dream moved too, but his reaction was more of a shudder than a startle. The bone attack that Gino summoned instantly vanished when he saw Corfrisk's face. They looked ready to cry. Hello, Ink? And Gino? Corfrisk made a sound that might be a sniffle as they ducked their head and gestured for the others to follow. The shortcut that will take you to Dream's home is this way. Quickly. Ink had a feeling that Corfrisk's conversation with Dr. Felgaster had not gone well. Color met them at the shortcut near the edge of the park. He looked as happy as Corfrisk was. That was not at all. Ink could sense Dream struggling as he leaned more on Blue. Concerned, Ink hesitantly reached out and grasped Jimmy's shoulder. He twitched, looking at him, and Ink tried to project as much compassion, relief, and feelings of safety and calm that he could manage. He was not sure if it worked, but Dream seemed to relax. Gino made sure Ink kept in contact with Dream and Blue as they stepped through the shortcut. It was only after they all reappeared by a series of tidy, colorful houses that Gino relaxed. Ink had not even considered that the shortcut could have been another trick. He was too relieved that Dream and Blue, and now Core, had helped to feel too pessimistic. Besides, he did not want to cause Dream more discomfort. Dream's house had the look of a place that hadn't been lived for in a long time. Its lawn was well maintained, but its interior had its furniture covered by sheets to ward off the dust. Brother, sheets? Damn, no one's living there. Why don't you just have them covered in plastic? That's if you don't want them covered. Oh well. Anyway, further proving that he had not been here for years, Dream seemed unfamiliar with his former home. He fumbled a bit before he found a light switch illuminating the space that might be a sitting room. It's dusty, Gino commented, then winced. Not that kind of dust. I couldn't stay here anymore. I feared my brother would eventually track me to the Omega timeline, so I left. Dream didn't look at any of them as he gave his brief explanation. Blue, help me clear these so Ink can lay down. Pew! Dream needed to lay down too, but Ink suspected he would ignore his problems. Any attempts to address those problems until Ink took care of his own. Edge and Blue lifted one of the sheets off of what ended up being a couch, while Color opened a few windows, allowing fresh air inside. Asgore got an old tower and placed it over its surface before Gino laid Ink on it. He handed Ink his satchel. Ink wasted no time in getting out tweezers and antiseptic. It wasn't the best, but he'd used what he could. He took a deep breath and began to painstakingly remove the metal fragments from his leg. The code nullifier cuff remained in place as much as he wanted to cut it off of him. He did not try to touch it, suspecting it would go off if he did. Corrupted and Error were still out there. Hortail might be in danger. Red has been captured by the gang. Dr. Fell had tried to capture Ink. Ink's leg ached terribly, and Fell Alfie's threat hung over him. Ink felt calmer than he had since he woke up in the Omega timeline. In a way, it was strangely relieving that Dr. Fell had finally played his hand and tried to do something. Now things had to change. Ink may not have access to his coding abilities, but he could use his magic, and he had people who could help him save everyone. He didn't have to cling to the edge of the cliff by his fingers and hope he would keep hanging on. Corfrisk eyed the particularly melted off cuff on Ink's ankle with a mix of confusion and disgust. What is that? A nullifier that prevents codes from a nullifier that prevents me from accessing codes, Ink explained briefly. He did not mention that it was an explosive, since from the looks of them, Corfrisk might have a breakdown if they were informed. I think Undertop Gaster created them some time ago. He remembered who he was talking to, but barely flinched. Instead, focusing on his injury. Dream did twitch twice, while Corfrisk looked to be on the verge of tears. So it's true. They sounded dazed. You are the protector. Color was the only one who seemed surprised. The others all looked at Ink, waiting for his response. Hearing that demand for confirmation from Corfrisk was more uncomfortable than hearing it from the gang or Aster. Ink's instincts still urged him to keep his secrets to himself. He supposed there was little point now. Yes, I am. I guess we should talk. Ink peered at the monochrome child that almost blended into the white cloths around them, and his hand twitched toward the blue crystal hidden below his scarf. His black snakes curled around his collar but kept silent in order to remain undetected. They can't speak. I promise I'll answer your questions, but first, could you please try to find Aster?
Do you need me to take over?
Am I that bad that you want me to that you want to take over? I'm sorry.
It's more so you just sound like you're struggling.
I can't see.
Every time you struggle, you're just like under your breath. So it's not even just like you're struggling, it's more of like mentally you're struggling too. You need to find your glasses. I can finish it. Where were you?
I was at when Corfrisk was saying, Aster, Master, I have small arms. I have a big head and small arms.
Start looking around your room and I'll finish this chapter.
Okay. I mean, it's not like I'll continue reading at this point. I have to be gone by 10.
That's true. Aster? Corfrisk's face seemed paler than normal. They still could not seem to make themselves look at Ink's face. What happened to Aster? They don't know? Ink repressed his own negative emotions and focused on his task, determined to cause the least amount of harm as possible. His hands remained steady. They did not tremble the slightest bit. Aster tried to help me, but there is an accident with some type of core experiment in the skyscraper. It caused a fire and Aster was caught up in the explosion. I healed some of the survivors, but Aster's missing. I think he might be in the void. Oh, I can check. I can try to check. Corfrisk's voice broke and they covered their face with their hands. I'm so sorry, I didn't see what was happening. It was difficult to believe that Ink had once accepted the gang's word that Corfrisk would manipulate him. It was clear they could barely even conceive the mere idea that so much could happen behind their back, let alone take part in any of it. Corfrisk was heartbroken over how the Omega timeline had treated Ink. Heartbroken, and so utterly, miserably confused and alone. Ink remembered how he'd felt when he found out the gang had killed behind his back. Compassion swelled in his chest, warm but painful, and he reached out with a gentle, encouraging smile. What they did isn't your fault. Corfrisk vanished before he could finish. Ink wasn't surprised. Sometimes people were unable and unwilling to accept that they were not to blame for the actions of others. Hold on, my chat got closed. Let me look. Okay, I should be back. Red was not afraid. That's a lie. One of the stones that made up the cell wall at his back jutted out just enough to dig into his spine just between his shoulder blades. Between that, the cold substance that dripped down the wall at his back, and the way his wrists were trapped in metal cuffs above his head, it made an uncomfortable sitting position even more uncomfortable. Red was used to being underground, though he hadn't been there for long that much ever since Underfell was destroyed. But it felt like all of the stone above Horrortail's castle was about to break apart and crush him. It was also uncomfortably dark, with the only lighting being the lanterns out in the hall that seemed to be at half power. The shadows made the cell seem even smaller than it actually was, and he swore they got closer every time he dared to blink. Sue read for being claustrophobic, apparently. He didn't like to be trapped, especially when he could see bits of monster dust in the corners of the cell. The few times he did manage to get himself pinned so he couldn't dodge, it ended painfully for him. The magic nullifier of the cell was another familiar and unwanted sensation. He could feel his magic rolling in his bones like it wanted to burst out and rip them to shreds in the process. Apparently, he demanded that he be... I just skipped something. Nymer's lackeys would rip him to shreds first. Doubly so since it seemed their boss wasn't present and the gang was acting on their own. Red heard a soft curse from his neighbor but didn't bother to call out. He had no potential allies here. Cross was the one in the magic nullifying cell next to his. Apparently he demanded that he be placed in one as soon as they returned. Red hated not knowing things, and he was beginning to understand just how much he was missing. Sure, the gang had been eerily quiet for a while, but he didn't expect them to actually go after him. But they weren't after Red for his own merit. Damn it, Dad, what did you do? Red heard approaching footsteps. His hope that they would pass by to cross his cell were quickly dashed as they halted outside of his door. The cell door opened. Killer walked through alone. He stared down at Red in silence with a knife held firmly in his hand. The gag in Red's mouth kept him from cursing at Killer. He was used to other monsters thinking they could intimidate him, so he did what he used to do back then and glared right back. The difference was, Red was secretly more powerful than those aggressors, but let them think he was weak. With Killer, Red wasn't nearly so confident in his abilities. Red was afraid. Did you know that Ink is a healer? Red could not answer Killer's soft-spoken question. He could only move his eyelids and skull as he watched Killer prowl back and forth in front of him, flipping the knife he held in his hand. Ink is Ark's real name, by the way. He's a Starsdam pacifist. He's gentle, he's kind. He's so stubborn that he resisted the boss's demands and refused to resort to fighting no matter what. Black tears dripped down Killer's cheeks. But your father won't care, will he? He'll give Ink an enemy's welcome. His smile was twisted and twitching. Rumor has it that he already has. Red couldn't confirm or deny it, and not just because of the gag that kept him silent. He knew Ark was in the Omega timeline thanks to Edge's panic call to Judge Felon dying, but that was about it. He didn't know where Ark, that was, Ink, was being kept or his condition. His brother cared, though, enough to go behind their father's back and warn someone who might have a chance of stopping him from doing something they regret. Killer was going to make Red regret it. Red knew what kind of malice lay behind his twisted expression. He really did care about the kid, huh? That was surprising considering his reaction when Ark had stopped him from murdering Red in Outertail. Ark wasn't here this time. If Cross could hear Killer, he didn't verbally object either. Killer loomed over Red and calmly grabbed his skull with the hand that wasn't wielding a knife. Let's see how this makes you feel. Red didn't hear footsteps, but dust appeared in the doorway. He rushed into the cell and grabbed Killer's arm, yanking him back. Killer fought his hold, but Red noticed he did not lash out with his knife despite being perfectly capable. Let go! Killer snarled, writhing in Dust's hold like a leashed rabid dog. No, Dust snapped. I thought we were past this. Past what? Torture? Murder? Killer laughed in his face. What delusion are you living in now? Dust gained a snarl of his own. He twisted Killer's arm and shoved him into the wall, away from Red, before he planted himself in front of the bound fell monster. For the second time, a member of Nightmare's gang stood between Red and Killer. "We are not going to hurt him," Dust growled. "Ink would not want that, no matter what the Omega timeline does." Killer gave another harsh, strained laugh that almost made it sound like he was choking. "Are you kidding me? You want us to take the high road while you know they're treating Ink like one of us?" Dust didn't back down. "Ink would want us to try." "They're experimenting on Ink," Killer snarled. "We don't know that," Dust snapped back. "Remember that it was Corrupted who said Ink was in pain. And even if it is true, do you really think Ink would be happy to hear we hurt a prisoner in retaliation for what happened to him? We already messed up with Horatel Flowey. Don't make the same mistake again." Killer gave him a black glare as his soul flickered. Red had heard about Killer's infamous stages, but he never saw anything other than stage 2 himself. He wasn't too optimistic about his survival if Killer went to stage 3. A fight could easily move out of the magic nullifying cell and into the hall, leaving the door open and Red bound and exposed. If magic attacks or Killer's knife started flying, Red had no chance to dodge. He always felt like he'd go down in a fight, but he didn't want to go because he got caught in the middle of one between two of Nightmare's gang. Just as Red began to brace himself and send a mental apology to Edge, Killer lowered his knife. "Fine." He turned on his heel and stormed out. Dust watched him go and exhaled sharply, the sound low and frustrated. He stepped forward and checked the cuffs around Red's wrists and ankles, giving them a few firm tugs. His inspection of the chains that linked Red's manacled wrists to the wall caused his body to lift slightly, forcing him to hang partially by those cuffs. Red was too proud to grunt in discomfort. He did the only thing he could and glared. Dust's cold, red and blue eyelights locked onto his, and it took a lot of effort not to flinch. Red recognized that particular look. He'd had it himself whenever Edge stumbled home with bruises or broken bones, and insisted that people could be kinder if they really tried. It was a look that said that if the world broke the belief, he'd light a match and watch it burn. "We both know I didn't stop Killer for your sake," Dust said coldly. "I did this because it would hurt Ink and Killer later. But I swear, if Ink is injured by your father or your precious Omega timeline..." His eyelights glowed sickeningly, and a single drop of black trickled from his left eye socket. "You'll wish I let Killer have you." Red doubted he'd be able to find his voice even if he didn't have a gag in his mouth. Sweat beaded on his brow and dripped down the side of his skull. Dust released the chain and turned on the door, giving a jaunty wave as he strolled out. "Sleep tight, Red. You best hope that the Omega timeline learned some mercy in the past couple days." The cell door slammed shut, leaving Red in the dark once more.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Last one for tonight. Only because...
You ready?
Oh my god. Okay. Only because Beetle does not have their glasses, so they physically cannot read certain chapters right now. I have to find those. Incentive! Cross! Yay! Cross was too tired to feel much of anything when he heard Dust stop Killer from attacking Red. Oh, I forgot he was there listening. He did not lift his head to look as the door opened and Killer stormed in. He prowled back and forth in front of Cross, snarling quietly as he angrily rubbed at his eye sockets, before he abruptly sat down. Cross observed him and slowly put together that he had come in here to prevent himself from throwing magic attacks around. He wished the cell would be as reliable at stopping his own problems. Dust entered a few minutes later, followed by Horror. He fiddled with his scarf and glanced over his shoulder before he spoke lowly. "You two okay?" "Fine," Killer snapped. Cross didn't answer. "Right. Let's not waste time, then. The parts should be enough to fix the core, but we need to talk about this." Dust gestured at Cross. Cross could only nod. Oh my gosh, that's so silly. I'm not gonna make it. I have to go in 26 minutes. Uh-oh. Wait, let me, lay back in my seat. I got my comfortable chair, but it makes a lot of noise, so I apologize if anyone is hearing a lot of noise. Oh. Anyways, Cross could only nod. Killer remained agitated, though Cross suspected he was grateful that Dust was not pushing him about the incident with Red. "You're finally gonna spill while you want to be stuck in here, then?" Mindful of Red's proximity, Cross kept his voice quiet. A piece of Ex-Gaster's soul is inside mine. Killer's agitation slipped away, and he appeared uncomfortable as his hand twitched towards his own target-shaped soul. He stepped out of the cell door and summoned Cross' soul, revealing it in all of its glory along with the distinctive purple break. Killer physically stepped back and almost hit the opposite wall of the hallway before he forced himself to step back into the cell. Cross's soul vanished. Killer stared at the empty space it had been in with a mixture of horror and revulsion. Has it been like this the whole time? Cross shrugged listlessly. I don't know. I think the shield's ink put on my cape helped interfere with Ex-Gaster's control and partially hid me from him. And now that protection is gone, Dust muttered. So if Ex-Gaster is pulling something, why hasn't he used Override on or attacked us like he had you attacked Ink? Cross winced and curled up so he could hug his knees. I don't know. I don't know what he wants, or if he can take complete control. Ex-Kara tried, but couldn't. His soul used to be attached to mine, but I fought him off just fine. The gang all looked at each other above Cross's head. Cross. Horror placed a careful hand on top his skull and called his name in a gentle rumble. Are you sure about that? Yes, it was real, Cross said before he can even really think about it, because if he thought about it, he'd question himself and start questioning if anything to do with Ex-Kara even happened. Killer crossed his arms and tapped them on his humerus in an agitated rhythm. When did Ex-Kara vanish? I don't know the exact timing, but I was in the Omega timeline. It felt like the air had turned to ice in Cross's ribs. I was in the Omega timeline. Dust's brow creased, and Killer paused uncertainly, but Horror's eyelights went out. All of Cross's fears for himself and the gang were swamped with his fear for one of their missing members. His fractured soul felt like it was going to tear itself in half. He almost wished it would so he could try to claw the purple piece out of it. We need to get Ink out. Try the bracelet again. Maybe they gave it back to him now that they know we want an exchange. Horror's eye sockets were still empty as he stumbled out of the room and feebly spoke into his bracelet, whispering Ink's name. There was a low electric sound and all the lights powered back on along with the core. Horror did not even notice as he quietly begged Ink to answer his calls. Dust's confused expression had shifted into one of alarm. Whoa, hey, what did I miss? Part of Ex-Gaster's soul must have survived his death and the destruction in X-Tail. Only Core Frisk knew what was going on in there. Ex-Kara's soul vanished while I was in the Omega timeline. Before, Cross couldn't speak at all. Now it felt like he couldn't stop. My soul somehow got its other half back, and a sliver of Ex-Gaster's was hidden inside it during that time period. If that's true, either Core Frisk had a piece of Ex-Gaster's soul and recruited someone who can perform such a procedure to put it inside mine, or Ex-Gaster was there to do it himself. Dun dun dun! Dun dun dun! Woo! Dramatic! Okay. Dream's old house wasn't meant for so many people. While their numbers allowed the occupants to quickly clear out the furniture covers and clean up, as Ink carefully healed his leg, it was common for someone to bump into another person as they worked. Despite the muttered apologies and near misses, no one went very far as they anticipated the discussion about Ink. Although Dream mentioned that he used to have a room that had been used as a makeshift medbay, he did not encourage Ink to go there, which implied that it currently wasn't in good condition. Or maybe Dream had put together that Ink might be uncomfortable with another hospital-like or lab-like space. Ex-Gaster is a piece of... Dun dun dun! Ink was remarkably calm considering what just happened. He hoped his emotions would not hurt Dream too badly once he let them out. He had the feeling he was already going to hurt Dream. It was obvious that he didn't know what happened with Nightmare. It left Ink in this unenviable position of the bearer of bad news. Ink focused on carefully removing Sharpnel from his leg and gradually healing it, focusing on his task as he mentally prepared himself for what was coming. His scarf lay on the cushion beside him, thrown into what would appear to be a haphazard pile, with the black snake safely hidden inside. Gino had already inspected Ink's neck as best he could, checking for any more suspicious scars like the one on his femur. The only recent scars were the ones Ink got from Horatel undying. The curtains were opened by edge, allowing the blinding light of the Omega Timeline's white sky to illuminate the room. Underswap Asgore wandered over to the kitchen in search of a pot for some tea, though Dream mentioned there might not be any food at all. As the furniture was uncovered, the room they were in was revealed to be some type of sitting room. Along with the couch and armchairs, there was a television, some lamps, a mantel, and a desk over by the window. Dream took a seat there to give Ink more room and watched the others clean with a pensive expression. Ink did not look up from his leg as he scanned it for any more containments. You can ask. Gina looked over from where he was folding a furniture cover. Blue also stopped moving as he glanced hesitantly from Dream to Ink. Color's movements slowed down, and he was clearly listening in as well. They're all such gossips. Holy fuck. Like, mind your business. Jesus. The sound of a ringing doorbell shouldn't send them all into high alert, but everyone drew their weapons, including Ink's own chains and shield, except Dream, Ink noticed, before his view of the room was mostly blocked. Ink found himself staring at Blue and Gino's backs as they stood between him and the door, allowing Color to cautiously peek out of the curtains. Are we projecting, Rosa? I'm not a gossip. Whatever. No, seriously, like, literally everyone in that room just, like, dropped everything. And they were just like, guys, let's listen in to what Ink wants to say. Guys, that's rude. Like, he's talking to Dream. He's not talking to you guys. Rude. Anyways. Its judge felt undying. Everyone looked at Ink, including Dream. Despite it being Dream's house, they left the decision on whether to let her in to him. Ink let his change dissipate. As he did, he reached over and gently brushed his fingers over the black snakes hidden in his scarf. They nuzzled his hand soothingly. She's okay. Color unlocked the door. Judge entered and he closed it behind her. The click of the deadbolt wasn't very reassuring, not because Ink feared it was meant to keep him in, to at least delay him for a critical moment if he tried to escape that way, but because he knew it would not keep enemies out. Judge had her underfelt armor on, minus her helmet, which she held under her arm. Hey, so I heard Ink is the protector. Cool, great. I don't mean to rush things, but we have about 20 minutes before Dr. Fell tries some bullshit with the council. Blue said something uncomplimentary about Felgaster in such a quiet voice that Ink was certain he was the only one that heard him. I love that. They are not touching Ink, Dream said curtly. His features softened as he looked over at him. What can I tell them? Claws of fear prickled at Ink's soul, and he stared intently at his leg. It's still stunned near the manacle, but most of the other damage had been taken care of, leaving him unable to use codes, but able to walk and use magic at least. He did not know the Omega Timeline Council. He did not trust them to be impartial and think about the big picture, instead of pursuing their own petty retaliation like Felgaster and Fel Alphys had. He did not want them to know he was the protector. He wasn't sure it would end well for him if they learned the truth. They knew Ark, but treated him terribly. Why would his role as the protector make any difference? But if there was a chance to resolve things without violence, Ink had to give them a chance, right? The last thing he needed was for them to agree with whatever fake and incriminating story that Dr. Felgaster came up with. We should probably wait for Core so you don't have to explain again. Color interrupted, then winced, seeing as they're not as aware as we all thought. Ink did not raise his gaze. Green magic flowed around his hand, shimmering gently. I don't know if they'll come back anytime soon. My imprisonment upset them. They're blaming themselves for not seeing the truth sooner. As for the council, I can't trust them to listen. Do you want to go? Judge asked. Ink finally looked her in the eye. Can you say with 100% certainty that they will not hurt me? I can't. Her eye flickered towards his leg. Who did that? Fel Alphys. There's an explosive in the manacle that will go off if I try to leave the Omega Timeline. The good news is that it won't become infected. The bad news is I can't remove it without Fel Alphys triggering something. Ink clinically considered where he had just removed bits of metal from and tapped his mid-thigh. The warning blast was directed upward. I would likely lose my leg up to about halfway up my femur, here, at the very least. I could easily receive several injuries in both legs and bleed out if I don't receive help, or the sharp nail could go straight up into my rib cage and through my soul, killing me instantly. That's fun. There was an uncomfortable silence. Dream was shaking. Okay. Ink kept his attention on healing his leg. Do you expect me to make it sound less harmful? Judge grimaced. I guess not. Blue gestured worriedly at the partially melted cuff. What are we gonna do about that? Hold on, there's a fly. I didn't get it. Fuck. Ink had an idea. It was more of a last resort that he did not want to acknowledge her voice. I need to be able to use codes to heal error, nightmare, and save everyone. This cuff prevents that. I'll have someone amputate my leg to get this off of me if I have to. His fingers brushed over some of the binary codes on the lower leg. I didn't get it again. And his voice remained steady, revealing none of his terror and thought. I'm not sure yet. I'll have to figure something out. You and I have to figure something out. Blue did not seem particularly assured. Ink could feel Color's eyes on him. He chose to ignore it. Back on topic. Yes, I am the protector. Specifically, I'm a protector of creation. What does that mean? Edge asked. He was not the only one to look at Ink for an answer. It means if I don't fix the multiverse, it will die, and we're all screwed. So no pressure or anything. Ink's laugh was low and strained. He noticed that although Dream grimaced, he did not flinch. And before you ask, by fixing, I mean healing the corruption and repairing worlds. Stuff like that. No one seemed to know what to say to that. Ink supposed it was a shock to hear that such repairs were possible after thinking the Protector was merely a legend. He focused on Judge. I was trapped in my world and unaware of pretty much everything outside of it, until I was found by Nightmare. He saved me and brought me into the multiverse. The game is not perfect, but they are not evil. They're my family. I refuse to harm them or allow myself to be used to harm them. Someone already had Aster have a accident, so he's trapped in the codes. Ink felt his eye sockets change as his green eyelights appeared to glow from within the abyss itself. So what will the council do if you tell them Ark is the protector? Judge didn't try to reassure him with false promises. It'll be a gamble. Most won't believe it without proof. What an odd story to choose as a supposed excuse, Edge muttered. What's riskier, Judge? Ink pressed. Going with you, or staying here without you? Going, Judge decided. There are a lot of guards, and Felgaster may have influenced them already. Ink checked on Dream to make sure his wariness didn't hurt him. If they try to hurt me, I will defend myself. I refuse to become a science experiment. We don't, Color began. You don't, Ink agreed. Felgaster has. He sensed a shift in Dream's vitals and scrutinized him. Other than a quicker beat of his soul and the paleness of his eyelights, his state hadn't deteriorated further. I wish that surprised me. Dream braced himself and rose from his seat. Core, Judge, and I will handle the council. Blue, you will stay here. Distress flashed across Blue's face. Dream, you're already... Felgaster will be less inclined to do something if you remain here. Besides, the council's negativity cannot affect me. I cannot sense it anymore. As another discontented silence fell over them, Dream's tired gaze slowly met Ink's. His eyelights were made even duller by his guilt. I was in the Golden Rune, yet didn't feel anything from the other patients, when their negative emotion should have been debilitating to me. Ink, you were right behind me, terrified, and I didn't notice. You're here now, Ink reminded him swiftly, hoping to pull him out of his self-blame. You helped me at the hospital and are helping me. That's what matters. He hesitated briefly. Dream, I know you need to get going, but I know. Dream interjected. His voice was low and wretched, giving Ink no delusion about what he was referring to. His hand clutched at the fabric over his sternum, digging into it. I know. Ink couldn't find his voice. Why the fuck did my music stop? Excuse me? Excuse me? No, 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 no. Start playing again. Get to it. Ink couldn't find his voice. Dream shuddered. The involuntary shiver was so violent that they heard him shake. Is my brother still alive? Discomfort crept onto most of the surrounding faces. Dream braced himself, but it was clear that it wasn't due to their emotions. Seeing Dream's desperation, Ink wondered what he had sensed from Nightmare as he was corrupted. He did not want to discuss the state of Dream's brother in front of everyone. He could tell that Dream did not want to learn what happened to his twin in front of everyone either. Ink kept his response brief. Yes, he is alive, but corrupted. Then tell me the details after the meeting. Dream glanced at Ink's satchel. One more thing before I go. Do you have a vial or a container? Ink understood what he wanted and took out the vial with the sun-shaped top, opening it. Dream placed his hand over it. What are you? Edge began, but stopped when Blue shook his head. Dream's magic was a flickering and dull yellow gold. It bore a resemblance to light, but shifted and wavered like flames in the breeze. Ink wasn't sure if fire could look shaded, but Dream's magic managed it, with bits of darker, sickly yellows curling through the gold. Something was there. It alerted Ink's green magic. It wasn't rawness, but it was certainly not good, like how injuries sometimes made him agitated and gave a signal similar to the rawness until he repaired them. He closed the vial and placed the positive magic in the front pocket of his satchel. Ink put his hand on top of Dream's for a moment and gave it a soothing squeeze. Thank you for keeping your promise. He didn't notice he was still using green magic until he caught Dream staring at his hand. There was a desperate edge to his gaze, like he wanted to ask Ink not to let go. It was strange, but even with their alternate states, Nightmare and Dream still greatly resembled each other. Nightmare could deny it all he wanted, but they were still twins. I'll help him, Ink said quietly. Only Dream heard him. The pain hunched of his shoulders eased, and he beckoned to Judge as he spoke to the empty air. Corfrisk. Get out of my face! Sorry, that fly is really bothering me. Corfrisk, I understand that it is difficult, but please meet us there, if you aren't present already. There was no response. Ink tried not to worry as Dream and Judge left. The door was locked behind them, but they all knew it would not stop any attackers. Edge and Color began discussing a patrol route and a guard duty, while Blue listened in, gathering up the remaining furniture covers into piles. Underswap Asgore hovered nearby as well, his gaze sharp with rapt attention as the three guards sorted out shifts. Gino sat on the couch by Ink's legs. His faded hoodie looked even more faded than usual because of the dust it had gathered while he and the others cleaned. He jumped away like he'd been shocked, but Ink waved for him to sit back down. Corfrisk, get out of my face. Is that really how it sounded? Uh-oh. I've already healed myself. You're not gonna get any containments in or anything. Ink's leg was as healed as it was going to get, and he removed the brace from his healed arm, replacing it with the other long brown glove for now. He put his black lawn sleeve on the other after he showered. Gino did not look convinced, but accepted his answer. This probably wasn't the best place for a healing session. Sometimes we don't have better options. Ink carefully put his scarf back on and felt the snakes nuzzle his neck. He also felt the communication bracelet that was wrapped securely around the fabric, but dare not activate it just in case. If he worded what happened the wrong way, especially concerning the explosive cuff, Ink had no delusions that the Gain would be merciful towards Red. Ink? Color halted in front of him. He tried to look casual with his hands stuffed into his pockets, but Ink saw the stiffness in his posture. It reminded him a bit of Cross's tendency to stand at attention. I want to apologize for jumping to conclusions. You're forgiven. Though it is kind of weird that you thought I could do something while wrapped up in bandages and magic nullifiers, Ink said dryly. But I get it. I'm a hostage, so I must be nefarious. Oh wait, I meant to say gang member. My bad. Even Ink could not tell if he was being fully sarcastic or not. There was definitely a bit of lingering frustration, though he had truly forgiven Color for his unintentional interference that prevented Ink from getting help sooner and thus would have prevented Red's capture. Okay, maybe Ink was still a little bitter, but still, it wasn't Color's fault. Color cringed. I was working with what I had been told. That was a mistake on my part. I'll try to make up for it. He reached up and scratched the broken edge of his skull. It was instinct for Ink to grab his hand and stop him, like he often did with horror. The flames in Color's skull flared up in surprise before they shifted into a softer shape. Ink relaxed at the sight of it. It's safe. The snakes peeked their heads out of Ink's scarf right below his chin. Color jumped back with a startled yelp, and the snake stared at him disapprovingly. Blue spotted the snakes and gasped in delight. Edge tried not to be distracted from his perch by the window, but Ink could see him struggling to hold back a smile. There they are! Hello, little pals! A wide grin stretched across Gino's face, and he held out his hands. The snakes happily curled around his hands and wrists, though their tails remained latched onto Ink's scarf. Color eyed the snakes suspiciously. Have your pets been there the whole time? Not the whole time, Ink said honestly. Sometimes they were with Gino. Ink did not elaborate about the snake's origins or say they were made from magic. He refused to mention the purified negativity magic to anyone but Dream. Blue stepped closer in order to inspect the snakes and relaxed. Ink hadn't even realized he'd been tense and hovering in near silence until he wasn't. The smile Blue gave Ink was much more hesitant than Gino's. Do they have names? Ink's mind immediately... Well, wait, Blue spotted the snakes and gasped in delight. Was that supposed to be Gino? Because, why is Blue hesitant? I think that was supposed to be Gino. I think Gino was supposed to be gasping in delight. Do they have names? Ink's mind immediately flashed back to the destruction of one of the snakes at Era's hands. He also thought about Collage, who died so soon after receiving his name, and felt a twisting sensation in his chest. Not yet. I'm scared I'm going to lose them. Blue's smile faltered. Color seemed uncomfortable all over again. We won't hurt your pets. You ever have that, one kid that, you're forced to, babysit randomly, and then they just say, the most messed up stuff of, did you know my parents are getting divorced? And you have to just be like, oh, really? Really? Oh, it's terrible, honey. And you just have to keep going on. That's basically Ink right now. You won't, Ink corrected. He hated to make jabs at Color's employers every other sentence, but he wasn't about to forget what they wanted to do to him. The snakes seemed to notice his distress, and released Gino to curl around Ink's arms instead, facing him. Their mismatched eyes peered up at him sullenly. You deserve names, so I'm going to call you Gold and Cyan for now, Ink told them, his eye sockets done. When this is over, maybe we'll see about other names if you'd like, so please don't die on me, okay? Blue's face fell. He abruptly stepped away and returned to his hovering state. I'm gonna try to call Stretch again. Ink watched Cyan and Gold calmly wind themselves around his hands. I should call the gang too. I don't think that's a good idea, Color injected. This is a delicate situation. Ink felt his eyelights go out. The last time they saw me was right before I ended up in the hospital with broken bones. Color's flames appeared to dim. We still need to be careful. How would they react if you called to say you have a bomb strapped to your leg, or even if it was just long enough to say you were safe, then hang up? Ink grimaced. Can you wait until Dream returns? Color cajoled. Fine. Ink settled back and closed his eye sockets. He heard Blue move closer. What are you doing? Are you alright? Ink kept his eye sockets closed as he concentrated. I'm trying to figure out which one to contact, and how to convince them I'm not calling with a knife to my throat. They'll expect the absolute worst case scenario, where I've been tortured, and any attempts to reach out are a trick meant to lure them into a trap. Blue awkwardly stared at the half-folded sheet he was holding. I'm sure I can convince them to make a peaceful exchange, Ink said strongly. He gave the cuff on his ankle a disgusted look. It would help if I didn't have an explosive strapped to me. I'll get Stretch on that as soon as I can, Blue promised. Aster could have helped if he wasn't trapped in the void. The reminder made Ink's soul ache painfully, and he clutched at the blue crystal hidden beneath his scarf. He hated the idea of Aster being trapped and alone in the void. Aster was not dead. Was Aster aware? Was he badly injured? Was he in pain? Would Ink even be able to locate him once he could use codes? He hadn't been able to locate Nightmare. What was Corrupted doing if he wasn't stalking the gang? Was he stalking the gang and they didn't know? What about Error? Was he okay? And what about the Doodle Sphere? And Gino shifted so he was closer to Ink. Ink immediately tucked himself up against his side like he did with the gang. Gino didn't seem to mind. It almost left enough room for Blue to sit, so Ink turned to get his leg off of the couch, clearing the space. The cuff pressed against his ankle, stinging slightly, and he grimaced. The threat of the explosive was not his only problem. If the manacle was not removed and properly treated, the metal might cause an infection. I don't want to lose a leg. Ink shoved down his panic so that Blue would not think he was afraid of him. It took a moment for Blue to sit in the empty space. He moved carefully as he did so, not like he was in pain, but like he did not want to startle Ink. The last time they encountered one another had been intense, but Ink understood that Blue did not want to hurt him this time. You should see if Dr. Toriel has heard anything about your brother, Ink mentioned. He probably wasn't injured, but everyone would have been checked in hospitals. They have a list for these kind of things to say where people are, right? Right, Blue confirmed, though it was clear he was still distracted. Underswap Asgore gave him a concerned look that he ignored. Like I said, Stretch will help, and if we can't contact him, there are a couple other scientists I trust. They'll get that nullifier off of you, I'm sure of it. Ink cupped a hand wrapped around the blue crystal pendant. Cyan and gold curled around his hand in turn. I hope you're right. Let me take point, Judge requested as they entered the council building. They're less likely to think I'm biased. Dream nodded in agreement and struggled to keep himself steady as he walked at her side. There were far more guards hanging around than he remembered. They eyed him as he passed, but did not speak or try to stop him. They could be feeling anything from joy to disgust to mind-numbing anger at the sight of the Guardian. Dream wouldn't know. The council meeting was already in session by the time Dream and Judge got there. At first, only Core Frisk and Caretaker Torio noticed that they were there. The rest were too busy speaking over each other. G's mouth was twisted with distaste, while Emperor Metaton sneered. Dr. Felgaster was the most visibly irate, as proven by his burning red eyelids. Dream, Judge, you've arrived. Caretaker Torio rose from her seat and went to Dream's side. She put a friendly hand on his shoulder, but her warmth failed to drive the chill from his bones. He appreciated the effort regardless. He needed all the support he could get. The council's negative emotions could not hurt Dream because he could not feel them, but it also meant that he was going into this meeting blind. Considering how they were likely going to react to what he had to say, he couldn't find the energy to complain. Dream took a seat near the door. He knew he appeared frail, but that didn't mean he was going to falter now. I'd ask what Dr. Fell said, but I honestly don't want to hear it. Dr. Felgaster's eyelights flashed. Excuse me? Dream spoke over him. Let's get this out of the way. Ark's real name is Ink. He is a healer. He is also the protector. It felt wrong to see such shock on their faces and feel nothing in response. Even Core Frisk's misery failed to sting. This is a joke, right? Emperor Metaton's lip curled up into a half smile. Wow, should not be that difficult of a sentence. I didn't know that you were one for legends, Dream. He's not joking. Judge spoke in support of Dream. Her arms were crossed and she leaned back in her chair, but she silently dared anyone to try to say she was joking. Core Frisk looked up and simply nodded. Emperor Metaton's self-absorbed expression faltered. The Protector is a myth. He's not, Core Frisk said softly. I just didn't find him. Nightmare did. Forgotten scientist Goner Alphys stared across the room at Core, her eyes hidden by her glasses. You say that the enemy has the Protector on their side. Is that it, then? No. Ink would gladly help us if we stopped treating him like an enemy, Dream said curtly. And before you try to claim he has ill will towards us, he just spent 14 hours healing the injured from the skyscraper, Judge added. Her eye narrowed as she stared Felgaster down. You intended to approach Ink on your own, without our knowledge. Aster tried to help Ink, and then his office blew up. What a coincidence. Fury bloomed across Felgaster's face. What are you trying to imply? Nothing at all, Judge claimed. But we all know the explosion was no accident. Someone wanted Aster out of the way. How did that is, Ink, end up in the Omega timeline in the first place? Caretaker Torio spoke to the room at large, but she looked to Core for an answer. He was injured, Core Frisk said vaguely. Core Frisk said vaguely. It hurt to see Core be so uncertain, but it did not hurt physically, not anymore. Dream was too numb. With that moment of hesitation, Dr. Felgaster forced his way back into the conversation. He was beaten nearly to death. Nightmare himself was the one that did that to him. Cold red eyelights locked onto Dream. The hospital took photos for evidence if you'd like to see them. Dream had already known what his corrupted brother had done, but he still recoiled. Nightmare has been overwhelmed by the corruption. Says who? Emperor Metaton asked. The Gain? Or Nightmare's own victim? Dream couldn't repress another flinch. Caretaker Torio's concern was clear on her face, but Dream felt nothing from her aura. Do we know anything about Ink's living situation with the gang? There were a couple hints that he was threatened, Judge said bluntly. However, Edge implied that it was Killer that slashed Ark's throat. Dr. Feldgaster interjected once more. His eyelids never stopped glowing with repressed magic. Judge did not even look his way. She remained dispassionate and calculating, as befitting someone for her role. It's not confirmed. And honestly, I doubt it was Killer. Ink responds positively to the game, and only appears to be afraid of Corrupted. That doesn't mean he's safer with us. Fel Alphys chose to be an ass and stick an explosive codes nullifying cuff on him. She's already used it to hurt him. Ink had to pull a sharp nail out of his leg. She bared her teeth. Do you want me to bring you the pieces as evidence? Caretaker Toriel's fist slammed into the arm of her chair, making it crack as the marks on the sleeves of her fantasy-inspired dress began to glow a fiery orange. Have we truly fallen so low that we would threaten to maim someone? I gave Fel Alphys no such orders, Feldgaster asserted smoothly. Ooh, he makes me mad, chat. Ooh. Oh, he makes me mad. Yet she's done it, Judge fired back. So when are you going to gather the guards and arrest her like you tried to snatch Ink, huh? That made the council devolve into a shouting match once more. Judge leaned back, and Dr. Fel glared daggers at her, annoyed that his shift in tactics had failed. It was strange to be surrounded by so much emotion without any effects. Dream could not sense it, but he could certainly see it. Emperor Metaton still did not fully believe that the Protector was real. Goner Alphys was similarly unconvinced. Caretaker Toriel was upset by the treatment Ink had received. King Asgore was quiet and observant, withholding his own opinions on the matter. G spoke above the din. If Ink is the Protector, we can't let the gang have him back. Nightmare already almost killed him once. Corrupted, Judge corrected, and G inclined his head in acknowledgement. We can't let him go. Goner Alphys agreed with G. Nightmare's gang will kill Red either way. I don't believe that, Dream argued. They want Ink to be safe. Or they want their possession back, Emperor Metaton said coldly. Say that Ark truly is the Protector. Do we really want to hand him back over to a gang of murderers? Dream had been in enough meetings to recognize that soon the discussion would turn to the wrong topic and circle in that direction, delaying any useful action in favor of diversion tactics. After enduring years of this kind of arguments, Dream's patience had run out. His hands struck the arms of his chair with enough force that they stunned, and he stood, his weariness and exhaustion momentarily burned away by anger. I am not here to debate whether Nightmare's gang can be trusted with Ink, Dream shouted. The problem is that he's not safe with us. Ink can be in the Mega Timeline's asset or a hostage. You can't expect to have it both ways. A small spark ignited in Dream's chest, bravely holding back the cold, and his features hardened like stone. And if you decide that he's your enemy, I will be joining him. Several of the council members stunned by his volume. They were so surprised that it took an extra moment before his ultimatum registered. Emperor Metaton balked. Caretaker Toriel appeared saddened but accepting. Goner Alphys lost what little shade of gray she still had. Cor Frisk did not raise their head. Aftertail pacifist King Asgore shifted in his chair and slammed the butt end of his trident into the stone by his feet. Several council members jumped, Dream included. For the sake of the multiverse, we must act under the assumption that Ink, the member of Nightmare's gang previously known as Ark, is the Protector that can repair broken codes and worlds. King Asgore began sternly. Instead of arguing like children, let us put it to a vote. Do we negotiate with the gang and offer the exchange of Ink for Red? Or do we continue to hold the Protector prisoner? And do not disgrace us all by pretending he is anything but a hostage. I'm not denying it, G noted dryly. His sharp eyelids remained on Dr. Fel. We keep the Protector, Dr. Feldgaster said instantly. The enemy cannot have him again. Caretaker Toriel struggled not to glare at him. Your child's life is at stake. Dr. Fel's expression remained cold and closed off. I know. However, I can see the bigger picture. That heavily contradicted his actions at the hospital, forcing Dream to reassess his belief that Dr. Fel had acted so rashly because his son had been captured. With his current display of cold dismissal, Dream understood that Dr. Fel may not care about getting Red back at all. He cared more about keeping the protector in his clutches. Caretaker Toriel crossed her arms in a show of self-restraint. I believe negotiation may be possible. We can't trust the gang, Connor Alphys insisted. They'll go back on their word, kill Red, and murder whoever else happens to be in their way. Knowing them, they killed a protector on Nightmare's orders, Emperor Metaton added dismissively. Dream choked on his protests. He knew they wouldn't change anyone's mind. In fact, they would only reinforce Emperor Metaton's position as he dismissed Dream as making excuses for his brother again. His fingers dug into the yellow fabric of his jacket. You know my vote. I stand with Dream, Judge announced. As do I, Aftertailed King Asgore smiled warmly at Dream, though there was a stressed crease between his eyes. Let us try for a peaceful resolution. G exhaled heavily and sat forward with his arms hanging loosely over his knees. I don't have enough evidence to think that's possible. If Ark was simply a healer, I would consider it. But if he is the protector, how could we put him back in the hands of the ones that broke the multiverse in the first place? Dream held his gaze. If you really wanted to save the multiverse, you'd let Ink go. He can't fix anything if he's a prisoner. He can't fix anything if he's murdered by his boss, G countered. Corrupted Nightmare could attack him as soon as he emerges from the Omega timeline. The safest place for him is here. G tried to appear neutral, but Dream could tell he was not happy with his decision. He cared about Red too, and it was clear that he didn't think Red was getting out of this alive. Dream did a mental count, and his soul felt like a cold lead weight in his chest. The votes were even. Only one was left. Corfrisk? Caretaker Toriel prompted gently. Corfrisk's gaze snapped to her face. Literally. A flicker passed over their body, and when it cleared, they had shifted position to stare up at Caretaker Toriel with huge eyes. They were petrified. For so long, they had been unaware of their own ignorance, but now they could see all the blind spots they hadn't noticed before. Got distracted and heard son got captured and thought Dream called Ink his son. Aw. And now they were expected to make a decision like this. Dream knew what they would vote for, but it was not that vote that made him regret that they had been left for last. Corfrisk was the tiebreaker. The final decision would be seen as theirs. They would be erroneously blamed for any horrible events their vote caused. Dream empathized with their fear and self-doubt. It was scary to have something they took for granted stripped away, leaving them feeling like their vision had darkened and the shadows grew deeper. Corfrisk could not rely on their knowledge, just like Dream could barely feel most people's emotions now. He should be more horrified by that. He was just tired. So tired. But he could not fall now. He had to keep fighting in any way he could manage. For Blue, for Ink, for everyone. Corfrisk's small hands clutched at their gray sweater, and they lowered their head. Let's negotiate. The gang attacked without Nightmare present, so it is likely they are acting on their own without us. Dr. Fell rose from his chair with enough force that it creaked. His magic flared around him, burning a vicious red, and the seat broke a little more. If it wasn't bolted down, it would have been sent flying. I cannot accept this, he thundered. Corfrisk did not look up. James saw tears on their cheeks. Violence will only encourage more violence. We need to try something different. Respect that, and leave Ink alone. Dr. Fell's eyelids flashed, and Dream tensed, ready to react if his magic surged again. He kept it reined in, even as he stared coldly, not at Corfrisk, but at Dream. There will never be peace. Your naivety will only get more killed. You will doom us all. He stormed out of the meeting hall without another word. Ruh-roh, Raggy. That's awkward. That's awkward. I think when the next big medical malpractice happens, I'm gonna go. Understandable. I gotta take a drink of water. Oh, my iPad's gonna die. I need to pull the stream up on my phone. Okay. okay. Almost done. Halfway done. Oh, my throat. Okay. Even with her glasses hiding her eyes, the glare Fel Alphys gave him was one of pure vitriol. If looks... Ah! I have to admit, you made the boss man really happy, Stretch drawled. That was sarcasm, by the way. Sorry, guys. Even with her glasses hiding her eyes, the glare Fel Alphys gave him was one of pure vitriol. If looks could kill, Stretch would have died ages ago. He wasn't the type to flinch at a little glower, even if he could see the sins crawling on Fel Alphys' LV-ridden back. It made his bones feel like they were covered with ants. The isolated halls of the lab were just as creepy, but Stretch was used to dealing with creepy things. There was so much white. The walls, the floor, even some of the equipment. Stretch understood it was kind of this place's aesthetic, but he could not make himself appreciate its sterile, roofless lack of colors in any way. It was downright unpleasant to be in here and have some inkling of what happened in these labs, but he'd do what he had to. Fel Alphys' lip curled. I'm surprised you're not angry. Wasn't Aster your lab partner? Stretch put his hands in his hoodie pocket and shrugged lazily. The pocket was loose enough that no one could see how his fist clenched with restrained anger. You know me. I only care about my brother. Your brother is becoming a problem. Fel Alphys snapped. Stretch yawned. Blue has good intentions, just like us, all right. Fel Alphys remained suspicious. Stretch kept his cool. He knew what he was doing, and he wasn't about to mess up now. The walk to the lab was more of a casual stroll on Stretch's side. He took the time expected of him to go at a leisurely pace, taking in his surroundings as he did so. He was still getting used to this place. There was a side hall there, a door leading to another lab there, potential alternate exit there. Fel Alphys stalked along, radiating a mixture of unease and frustration. Stretch kept up his facade of bored apathy as they entered the main laboratory. It was best not to think about the surrounding machinery, examination table, restraints, and what they were intended for. Dr. Felgaster did not turn away from the large screen in front of him. The camera feed of the Mega Timeline cast bright light on his sharp features, but also threw them into conflicting shadows, making the angles of his face look even harsher. Oh, you're here, Stretch greeted casually. What's... Dr. Feld turned on them, his eyelids alight with rage. It was not directed at Stretch, but at Fel Alphys. It was surprising she did not flinch. What were you thinking? We can't let the Protector get away, Fel Alphys said in an unaffected monotone. You used the device in front of witnesses, Dr. Felgaster snapped. The Council's attention is now on us and Judge is intent on arresting us both. Like your own arrest attempt was any subtler, Fel Alphys retorted icily. Dr. Felgaster's eyelights flashed. Hey, let's not fight, Stretch drawled without much enthusiasm. If a fight broke out, he'd gladly let them go at it. We all know you wanted revenge for undying, Fel Alphys. That was as close as a scathing remark as Stretch dared to voice. It truly was fortunate that Fel Alphys could not kill with her glare alone. She seemed ready to do more than threaten as she stepped toward Stretch, giving him a look that promised violence in a way that was much more malicious than his own Alphys. Stretch was too deep in this to do something like flinch, and met her challenge with a lazy smile. Leave him be, Alphys. That voice was a Gaster's, but it was not Fel's. Hearing it, Stretch found it a bit harder not to twitch or sweat. He had not even noticed the other Gaster was there. He should be used to his unexpected appearances by now, but it still brought a chill to his bones. Ex-Gaster ignored them as he stepped up to the observation screen. His lawn jacket swished slightly as he settled in place with a firm stance, and his hands clasped gently behind his back. His posture reminded Stretch a bit more of a guard or soldier than a scientist. It was mostly in the placement of the legs and the deceptively at-ease placement of his hands. Other hands floated around him, typing on tablets or shimmering with magic, but Stretch did not sense a threat from him, unlike Fel Alphys. Considering who Ex-Gaster was and what he could do, he could not reliably say that he would. You went against orders, Fel Alphys, Ex-Gaster said quietly. You were only meant to place the nullifier on Protector Inc. The explosive would only be used to incapacitate the Protector if he tries to leave the Omega timeline, Fel Alphys defended tersely. Anyone they recruit to help won't be enough to remove it either. It'll go off if they try. Ex-Gaster's floating hands kept working. His physical hands twitched. That was not necessary. nor was the explosion in the skyscraper. Because of you two, there is too much attention on Ink inside the Omega timeline for us to subtly retrieve him from within it. And Core Frisk now knows of their blind spots. We've lost an advantage because of your anger. X-Gaster's cold gaze swept over Fel Alphas to Fel Gaster before his eye sockets narrowed. It is fortunate you have an obvious excuse. Stretch could see the effort it took for Dr. Fel Gaster not to snarl. If X-Gaster also saw his Irie, he did not find it threatening. It is kind of funny, like, all the villains and Stretch are in one room. Like, this is so funny. Stretch, get out of there, bro. Is the tracker still inside the nullifier? At Fel Alphas' nod, X-Gaster turned back to the screen he was observing. Change the coding so the explosion will only go off if it's manually triggered. May I remind you that we want Ink alive. The Mega Timeline is working to exchange Red for the Protector. Dr. Fel Gaster exploded. We're gonna lose him! Stretch had kind of been hoping that Fel Gaster had acted rashly because his son had been captured. That major hope withered up and died with those words, because as much as he would like to pretend otherwise, it was clear that the him that Fel Gaster worried about losing was not Red. In contrast to his counterpart, X-Gaster was eerily calm. He will not. The seeds I sowed so long ago have finally sprouted. It will not matter if the Mega Timeline or Nightmare's gang has Ink. He is retrievable either way. We simply need to ensure that less people will notice he's missing, so we have the time we need. Stretch suspected as much, but it was still not what he wanted to hear. He did not allow for any kind of reaction, even as X-Gaster's cold purple eyelights shifted to his face. It will not even matter if he is taken to Underswap, correct? When Stretch first caught wind that Dr. Fel Gaster might be up to something, he never expected to be brought face to face with the infamous Overrider himself. He might have congratulated himself for his well-done deception as he gradually wormed his way into Dr. Fel's secret projects, if not for how uneasy the real boss made him. Stretch could handle Dr. Fel Gaster and Fel Alphas. He was not so sure he could handle X-Gaster. Stretch nodded agreeably and kept up an appearance of boredom. Yeah, I know my role. Do you want me to go back to my bro and have a look around? To his private relief, X-Gaster shook his head. That will not be necessary. We already have the required surveillance assets. Remain with Fel Alphas, Fel Gaster, and I shall return before we're missed. Stretch knew X-Gaster was out in the Omega timeline. He also knew X-Gaster did not look like himself whenever he was. Who are you pretending to be? Stretch's phone vibrated. He did not jump or startle. He casually, emphasis on casually and lazily, and other careless temperaments that were expected of him, pulled the phone out of his pocket and checked it. He had another missed call from Blue. Most were from Blue. One was a spam call, though. He never thought he'd be pleased to see it. It let him tell the truth. Stretch put the phone away. Who knew this place allowed for inter-AU spam calls? The other scientists ignored him. They weren't one for jokes. Good, because Stretch wasn't sure he could keep joking, especially if they got their hands on who they wanted. As Stretch put his phone on silent, he sent a mental apology to Blue. Sorry for worrying you, bro. You've inspired me too much. I worked too hard, and now I'm trying to save the multiverse. I hope to see you soon. His gaze flicked from the outside view of Dream's home to the sterile lab equipment and away. And I hope I don't see ink. 0011111. I don't know what that means. I'm sure it's code for something. I don't know binary code though. So if anyone wants to translate that, go ahead. The Doodle Sphere was. The Doodle Sphere wasn't always, but now it was. It was formed, it was present, it was real. It existed. The binary says scanning, protector data not found, scan again. Thank you, Scarlet Moon. The Doodle Sphere was not meant to exist like this. It could not say where it shifted from unaware to aware, but shift it did. The Doodle Sphere formed, it existed, it was aware, and then it was unaware, then it was aware. The Doodle Sphere existed, but it knew it was not meant to exist as it did. It was meant to have someone to take care of it. It was meant to have a protector. The Doodle Sphere heard them. It always heard them. They were always there until they weren't. Them, the creators, the lurkers, the artists, the readers, the voice, the ones that helplessly watched the multiverse slowly die. They created and watched and drew and lurked, but could not repair or save. They poured their hearts and ideas and stories and souls into the multiverse and the doodle sphere, filling the sky with buckets and papers and its emptiness with rainbows of paint. It's us! It's us. They talked about the Protector sometimes and wondered where he was. His absence worried them. This multiverse had a balance. Not all multiverses had balances, but this one did. This multiverse was unbalanced and glitching. Corruption popped up everywhere. Negativity overwhelmed positivity, and destruction would not stop destroying. The Doodle Sphere could not create or fix. It was waiting for the Protector that would do such things for it. So it observed and learned. Over time, it observed much violence. It saw worlds upon worlds die and die and die and die and die. It learned that killing solved problems and created them, but more often than not, it permanently removed threats. There was no protector to defend the Doodle Sphere, so the Doodle Sphere learned. It prepared. It defended itself. If anyone poked anywhere near it or its codes, or even considered doing such a thing, the Doodle Sphere ended their existence. The Doodle Sphere did not care about their role, their intent, or their power. They were not the protector, yet they poked around, so the Doodle Sphere killed them. Simple. Genuinely, I wonder what Undertale multiverse characters were the people that this Doodle Sphere killed. I do wonder that. I do wonder who they killed. Would it be like people like Player or like Error Frisk or like... That's why Korkara isn't an FTFO. Korkara tried to find the Doodle Sphere and she got fucking killed. She's dead. Subscribers of my Roseverse content will get that joke. There were plenty of ways to kill something, like stabbing or shooting or setting them on fire. The Doodle Sphere was not so messy. It simply ended their existence. They had no time to even feel pain. The piles of dust or splatter of blood left behind often went unnoticed. The Doodle Sphere did not have to kill often since none suspected its existence, but it was cautious. Everything was breaking. The Doodle Sphere was breaking. No one could be let in except the Protector. Possibly random gasters and other characters who can get close to codes in the void. I like that idea. The ones who watched found out what the Doodle Sphere was doing. They panicked and scrambled, horrified that the Doodle Sphere was murdering. They did something. Maybe they tried to remove the vague knowledge of the concept of the core of the multiverse from the one known as Core Frisk, but as things often did in an unstable multiverse, their attempts broke more than they intended, and then their omnipresent plaything wasn't so omnipresent and all-seeing anymore. The Doodle Sphere did not care. The one known as Core Frisk would have become just as blinded eventually. They were already gaining blind spots, quite noticeably within this, I guess. The interference of them merely sped up the process. Again, the Doodle Sphere did not care. Core Frisk did not know of the Doodle Sphere's existence or try to find it so they could continue existing. I forgot that we technically blinded Core Frisk so they didn't die in this multiverse. I forgot. That's really sweet. we panicked. We had to protect the child, so we blinded them. The Doodle Sphere tried to keep things stable. It watched the ones that watched create so many positive alternate universes to power— Oh! My phone! I dropped it. Save the child! Okay. Where was I? Oh, created many positive alternate universes to power up the Guardian of Positivity. That was the only one that acted as a guardian and protector, not protector. Those worlds formed with glitches. The Doodle Sphere tried to make things work, but it was not a protector. It could not fix, so the Doodle Sphere stopped trying. The ones that watched went silent. One day they created, the next they did not. Even they could not create when things were so broken. The buckets were cracked and leaking. The papers had frayed and shredded. The Doodle Sphere grew more and more ruined and dilapidated. The paint spilled out and became a messy brown ocean that poured off of the crumbling islands. Somehow, the sky remained a beautiful yellow gold. Sometime later, they were completely cut off from the multiverse as Error, the last entity they could beg to find the Protector, was lost to them and taken by corruption. They were gone. The Doodle Sphere began to hibernate to preserve itself. The Doodle Sphere kept waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting until one day it did not have to wait anymore. The Doodle Sphere felt him, so the Doodle Sphere stirred. It could not fully wake, but it became aware of him. The Protector had emerged into the multiverse at last. Its protector was here. The Doodle Sphere eagerly viewed its protector. If it was capable, it would be glowing with pure joy, but it was not capable because of its state of disrepair. The protector was a sans as expected. The protector was an ink as expected. The protector had a soul, not expected, but the Doodle Sphere supposedly it could fix that. Suppose it could fix that, at least. The protector was so small. The Doodle Sphere did not expect someone big like itself, but the protector was very small indeed. It observed him as best it could, that it was difficult with the icky, corrupted shadows being so near. That was okay, though. The protector was here now. Soon, the protector would seek out the Doodle Sphere and everything would be fixed. Why didn't the protector seek out the Doodle Sphere? Why was his role glitched? The Doodle Sphere observed as best as it could to figure out why. Things became clearer when the protector left the shadows of blank, 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 blank. The protector did not know he was the protector. The protector did not find the Doodle Sphere because he still had a soul. The Doodle Sphere could fix that. Attempting patch. Why was the command glitched? The Doodle Sphere was used to its commands not always working, so it waited to see if this one would go through. Multiverse patch failed. It failed? The Doodle Sphere did not understand. It considered its data carefully before it ran the command again. It was a bit more difficult now that the protector was back in blank, 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 but it needed to be done. Ink would lose his soul and become the protector that the Doodle Sphere required, as other inks did. The Doodle Sphere added a bit more detail this time to try to fix a protector's role. Attempting patch. Role, protector, creator. The role was still glitched, saying protector, creator, not protector of creation. That was unacceptable. The Doodle Sphere was distracted from his dissatisfaction at the mistake by a cry. The protector was crying out. He was in pain? Well, yes, it was to be expected since destruction of the soul was painful, but the protector was crying. He was crying out for help. Why was he crying out for help? Crying out for help meant bad things and pain and sadness in the multiverse, but maybe it would lead to good things, like such cries sometimes did when Frisk fought Omega Flowey. It did not seem that way. The protector was still crying out for help. He was in pain. The Doodle Sphere did not understand. A new presence slipped into the codes. The Doodle Sphere was so elated to see another protector, Ink, that it allowed him inside. Surely the other Ink would assist the Doodle Sphere in fixing its Ink's codes. Access granted, welcome, blank, 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 code, yeah, yeah, that. Another protector Ink had stopped the Doodle Sphere. He interfered and stopped the multiverse patch that would destroy this Ink's soul. The Doodle Sphere protector Ink passed out. He regained consciousness before the Doodle Sphere could worry, but he was still in pain. The Doodle Sphere had caused him pain. The Doodle Sphere did not understand. It had only wanted to make things right. But it was not right. The Doodle Sphere watched the protector shudder, keeping quiet as he clutched at his chest, and understood it had been wrong, and it had acted hastily and almost cost itself its protector. The Doodle Sphere needed to reanalyze. It needed to learn more. So it stepped back and observed. The protector Ink was so small and gentle and new, unlike the Doodle Sphere. He did not know many things. He did not know how the Overrider's creation would react to his abilities to use code. So the Doodle Sphere warned him. The Doodle Sphere urged him not to tell them because the Overrider's creation would kill him. The Overrider of blah 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 was a nasty, nasty fake creator and left a piece of himself in his creation. The Doodle Sphere watched and waited and learned. The Protector Ink was small and new, but also stubborn. He would not harm even though the Guardian of Negativity tried to make him. The Doodle Sphere had experienced so much violence and death in its broken multiverse, and the Protector Ink refused to add to that violence, death, and breakage. The Protector Ink chose to be a healer. The Doodle Sphere was delighted. It made sense the Protector would refuse to harm. It would try to heal and repair instead. The Protector held onto his pacifism even when the Guardian Negativity Nightmare in the sands of blank 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 tried to scare him and control him. That gave the Doodle Sphere pause. The Doodle Sphere did not want to scare Ink or control him. It wanted to help the Protector, not make his job harder. The Doodle Sphere had not considered that before, but it was what it needed to do. The Doodle Sphere needed to protect itself and its protector. The other protector ink that was called Prism was invested in keeping the Doodle Sphere's protector ink safe. He even recruited his own guardians of positivity and negativity to contact the Doodle Sphere's protector ink in a dream fashioned after the Doodle Sphere. The Doodle Sphere decided this protector Prism ink from the other multiverse was also acceptable. If the protector Prism ink needed safety, the Doodle Sphere decided it would let him inside. If someone tried to harm protector Prism again, the Doodle Sphere hoped Prism's Doodle Sphere murdered that someone. Murder was a very efficient way to keep problems from coming back. The Doodle Sphere continued to observe. It could not panic, but a frantic energy gripped it when it saw what happened in blank. Ink viewed a script for the first time, but he, Prism, and the Doodle Sphere all rejected it. None of them would accept a bad ending. Ink did not die in blank, and Nightmare's gang did not corrupt. Not there, not yet. The exposure to another protector removed many of the glitches from Ink's role, giving it its true name of Protector of Creation, along with Healer. Protector Prism Ink also told the Doodle Sphere Protector's Healer Ink to find the Doodle Sphere. The Doodle Sphere decided it loved Prism Ink, not as much as its own Protector Ink, but it would happily provide sanctuary and murder entities to keep Prism Ink safe. The Doodle Sphere waited patiently. Surely it would not be much longer now, surely. And it wasn't. Someone cried out for help, for sanctuary. It was the Protector. The Protector Ink sought sanctuary, safety from harm, pursuers, violence, threats. The Doodle Sphere gave it, and finally, the Protector was here. The Protector was here, with the Doodle Sphere, where he belonged. The Protector arrived in the Doodle Sphere, and its codes gently curled around his damaged soul. For the first time in millennia, the Doodle Sphere was fully awake. The Doodle Sphere had wanted to glow with joy, but safety came first. The Protector Ink sought sanctuary for the icky overrides creation with him. Ew! But the Doodle Sphere was too overjoyed to kill the intruder, in spite of the Protector's desires, because the Doodle Sphere needed to remain secure. All and any that attempted to get into the Doodle Sphere without the Protector Ink's explicit permission would be neatly killed. The Doodle Sphere was tempted to kill this cross, just to be on the safe side, but the Protector Ink let him in and was invested in his continued existence. Another briefly took a form from the Doodle Sphere's ocean of brown paint, but it was the other Protector, Prism, another Protector Ink, so the Doodle Sphere allowed this too. The Protector Prism Ink talked to the Doodle Sphere Protector Healer Ink. It was confirmed that the Doodle Sphere had been wrong to try to destroy Ink's soul. Destroying Ink's soul would not fix anything. It would only hurt. Ink was not wrong or broken because he was different than other Inks. If anyone tried to say differently, the Doodle Sphere would kill them. This. I love Buddy for humanizing the Doodle Sphere into an actual character. This is so fucking funny. I love this chapter so much. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. Maybe. So the Doodle Sphere was trying very hard not to hurt its protector, and its protector was invested in keeping things alive. Perhaps it could scare those people, and if they died of a soul attack, oh well, that counted as not murdering, right? The Doodle Sphere was very tempted to kill Cross for trying to leave, but it would make the Protector Ink sad, so it let its presence warp around him instead as a warning. Don't try it. Cross did not try to leave. A wise decision. The Protector Ink had to leave. The Doodle Sphere had heard Prism's story. Ink would hurt himself if he stayed inside the Doodle Sphere. The Doodle Sphere was meant to be safe, but it would harm its own protector if it forced him to remain. The Doodle Sphere did not want to force Ink to be trapped and hurt. It let him go with the promise that he would return. It watched over him. It observed. There were still dark spots where the corruption's glitches overwhelmed all else, but the Doodle Sphere endured. With the mere presence of the Protector having fully woken it, the Doodle Sphere felt it was safe to interfere once again. It would be so easy to wipe the parasite fresh from existence, but the Protector wanted him to keep living. The Doodle Sphere supposed that was the purpose of the Protector, and the nature of Ink. The Doodle Sphere was unsure that the Guardian of Negativity deserved such restraint. The Doodle Sphere wanted to kill Corrupted and Nightmare both. Then the problem would be eliminated, surely. No. Killing the Guardian of Negativity would only make things worse. It would only make things worse. The Protector was being hurt. Make things worse. Corrupted was hurting Ink. Make things worse. Stop, 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 stop! Make things worse! Ink's scream grew fainter. The Doodle Sphere cried with him, its paint rolling and thrashing like a stormy ocean. And then Ink vanished. By the time the Doodle Sphere tracked him down, Ink was in the Omega timeline. He had magic nullifiers on his broken limbs. He had a code nullifier on his ankle. The Omega timeline would not remove it. Ink could not fix if his power was restrained. He begged the Doodle Spear to hide the golden binary codes around his soul. The Doodle Spear reluctantly obliged. At first, the Doodle Spear was patient. It waited for the moment that the Omega timeline would see sense and release the protector that could fix everything. They did not see sense. Instead, they kept Ink restrained. They hurt him. They threatened him. The Omega timeline intended to keep the protector from the Doodle Spear. Well then, that was simply unacceptable. The Doodle Spear wondered if it should end the Omega timeline's existence. The Omega timeline was an odd creation in the multiverse, but it was still part of the multiverse, in the Doodle Spear. If the Doodle Spear tried, it could destroy it. Sacrificing such a small piece of itself to keep Ink safe would be much more worth it. But that would go against Protector Ink's desires. Ink loved these worlds, even frustrating ones that were keeping the Protector from the Doodle Spear. The Omega timeline was an enemy? Nuisance, but it could continue to exist. Fine. If Ink could not use codes or come here, then the Doodle Spear would send an alternate means to him. But how? The Doodle Spear considered its alternate universes, syncing ideas. Then it considered its own crystal cavern and mirror. You remember the large brush held by the other inks like Prism and Solus. What was their name? Ah, yes. The paintbrush was Broomy. The Doodle Spear plucked pieces of itself from the pool of brown paint and began to create. Ah! Here comes Broomy! Oh! Oh, I love Broomy. I don't have enough vocal cords in my throat to read this. This next chapter. I know I said 4 chapters this time, but guys, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can do that. I hope that's understandable. Beetle has left for work as well, so I would have to be reading it all by myself again. We will read it next week, which is Broomy's chapter. Oh, it's so wonderful. I love Broomy. I love Broomy. So next Saturday, I haven't gotten a time yet, but next Saturday, we will continue reading. Hopefully Beetle will have their fucking glasses so we can read 4 chapters. But yeah, this was so much fun. Oh, I'm burping, sorry. I had to clear my throat. I just had a smoothie. This was so much fun. I'm so glad to be back doing this. I can't believe we're on chapter 35. Like, guys. Yay! Oh my gosh, these next chapters are gonna be so much fun, guys. They're gonna be so much fun. Thank you so much for being here. I really hope you guys liked it. I feel like you did because I feel like this is like the longest stream we've had in a while with this many viewers. Everyone has been waiting for this. 50 chapters. This was so much fun. Thank you guys so much for watching. I cannot wait to see you guys next week. This will be so much fun. And good night, everybody!